We're in real trouble. I had a guy on my podcast, an economist named Nicholas Eberhardt. This guy is brilliant. Harvard, all the abbreviations after his name that you want. Wrote a best-selling book in 2016 called Men Without Work. Just republished it because the contention in the book is now on steroids. And basically what he's saying is, never mind the unemployment numbers. They don't matter. That's a Depression era metric, and it doesn't tell us anything we really, really need to know. Here's what we need to know. 7 million able-bodied men between the ages of 25 and 54 are not only not working, they're affirmatively not looking for work. Never in peacetime has that metric existed before. We have 4 million more open jobs today than we did pre-pandemic, and we have 4 million fewer people in the workforce. It's really bad, and you can't find an employer in anywhere today who is not desperate to hire.
Check this out.
You are living through another historic moment, but this one is actually good. This is the thunderstorm generator, and it has eliminated CO2 emissions in industrial applications, jet engines, and even cars. Don't worry, that's just a prototype. The magic is in these two spheres. It contains two counter-rotating donuts of gas. Similar to how when you rub your feet on the carpet, it creates a plasma discharge, it creates these things. These are called plasmoids. It's an inverted donut. If you've ever seen the star in a jar experiment, it is a plasma trapped in a bubble. Now in the generator, when these bubbles pop, they leave only the plasmoid. That plasmoid travels through the tube into a bubbler. Those plasmoids mix with the gas bubbles from the exhaust. When it does this, the gas breaks down into its components, and the harmful elements are converted into oxygen. It literally disintegrates the harmful gases. When you test this technique on household aluminum, the plasmoid disintegrates the aluminum and it reappears as silver, I believe. The preliminary results of this are astounding, and in most cases CO2 was not only completely eliminated, but a 5-fold increase in oxygen was produced. I would have to see someone do it, but this literally means you could breathe your car's exhaust.
So one car is a small tree plantation, effectively, because carbon is not coming out the exhaust, only oxygen.
Here's the best part. It is completely open source. There's a DIY tutorial on YouTube for those who want to try it before it goes into production. The Alchemical Science YouTube page is posting all of the research, and it has been submitted across the globe for peer review. Now this is actually the most important part.
The thunderstorm generator retrofit itself is built on the principles of sacred geometry, ratios, and angles.
If you've seen Joe Rogan's podcast with Randall, this was the technology he's talking about. It is one of the main reasons I created all of my social media accounts. My aim is to explain this stuff in the easiest way possible so that you can use it to create technologies that change the world. This is also why I wrote Codex. It is my way of making the fundamentals of this knowledge as affordable and accessible to the most people possible.
Right there it is, y'all. That's that 088 steel, man. Yup. That's where they come from right there. That sounds just like one too, don't it? Pup, 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 pup. Dadgum. Hey, George. I'm going to set this saw right here and I'll be right back here in just a little bit. You both just sit over and play still around there out of the way. Just let her do its job. It'll be done here in a little bit. It might take a while. About an hour. We got this one right here tamed. Yep. As long as she don't kick back, we'll be all right. Don't need to choke the tires. Ain't no need. She ain't got that much kick and not that much power. Now, I got an oil in tank.
Run, dead.
Dilly! What's up? You guys see that? That is freaky, huh? What's up, everybody? Happy Christmas, New Year, Kwanzaa, Festivus, Pole, whatever, Hanukkah, whatever it is. What is all the ones? I can't remember all of them, because I don't remember anything. What's up? What are you guys doing? You guys hanging out? We'll cover a couple of things. So, just real quick, was that Keith Richards, right? I know. He actually looks better than that. I think that last thing is there are a group of people that get together periodically, and we shouldn't make fun of them because they actually have, I think they have a number of different issues, like really serious disfigurement problems. This happens to people. Sometimes it's birth defect, sometimes it's others. But I've seen some of these there. I don't think they're birth defects. I think there's something else going on. But it is quite bizarre, though, that they do this at Walmart for some reason. I don't know what the connection to the Walmart thing is, but that's another story altogether. So Mike Rowe, right? That was interesting. Mike Rowe always has something interesting to say. That's a video in itself, fellas. Like, what's going on there? I've looked a little bit into it, and I'm like, geez, I wonder if I could even put together a decent video on that. It's an interesting topic, and it's quite concerning. There's a lot to that, and what he was saying is that the guy kind of revised the book because it's like at this point now, people not wanting to work is this whole new thing going on. I know that for some of the younger generations, they honestly feel like there's just no point to even trying because they're not going to get anywhere. They're never going to be able to buy a house. They realize college is so ridiculously expensive because they learned this from the generation before them. That generation, part of it is the millennials, but after the millennials, that they spent so much on these college educations that they can't pay it back because the jobs don't pay enough. Because, what's happening in society is they're raising up. I actually heard a little bit of this about at Ken's, but they raise up. What was my daughter saying? See, I didn't go. Oh, no, she didn't. My daughter was just texting. They've raised up like minimum wage so high that a lot of these companies, they can't afford to pay the workers anymore. And partly by doing that, the other wages have become stagnant because the money is becoming worthless. Everything is getting ridiculously expensive. So in relation, like the average wage, if it hasn't really changed, but yet a car is $60,000, $70,000 to $100,000. Houses that were $100 and change or $400,000, $500,000, $500,000, right? So some of these kids are just like, the hell with it. What's the point? If I can, they're ready to take, because the government's trying to, push universal basic income because they know well, they've created this situation, but they know better to have them on like state care and state aid, and they feel like they've got them at this point, right? Because they're not going to do anything else, so they'll just, I guess, sit at home or move into one of these 15-minute cities, and what a nightmare. But that's a whole nother story. And then there was, it was just funny though. Johnny says, everybody's saying hi. PhD in Tibetan basket weaving will land you a nice job flipping French fries. Wayne says, dilly, the pit of doom with you, Archest, the pit of misery. To the pit of misery for you. I always got a kick out of that one. Let's just refresh our memory, fellas. Hold on. I just love this. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, I have it. Hold on. Dilly.
Sir Jeremy, you are a true friend of the crown. Dilly. Madam Susan, you are an even truer friend of the crown. Dilly. What is that?
This is a spiced honey mead wine that I have really been into lately.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, dilly, right?
Please follow Sir Brad. He's going to give you a private tour of the pit of misery.
I'm sorry, what?
Pit of misery, dilly.
Dilly.
I'm Bear Grylls, completely lost in a desert, and without water for 3 days. I have a decision to make. Drink my urine or this cold Bud Light I miraculously stumbled across. For me, the choice was simple. As horrible as it was still better than that god-awful beer.
To the pit of misery!
And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe have to, they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
And electronics. Please follow Brad to the pit of misery.
Dilly. So, what'd I miss?
You're not gonna believe this shit. That is the dumbest thing that I ever...
shut up, Doug.
Yeah, shut up, Doug. Dilly.
Yeah, shut up, Doug. Yeah, I enjoy that. Dilly to the pit. Please follow Brad to the pit of misery. Yeah. So I don't know what, basket weaving. I don't know. Let's see what else is going on here. Hold on, let me catch up with her. Oh, Wayne says dilly to the pit of doom. Henry says big dog repair, Wayne. Mr. Mo-it-all, Ken's here. Henry, $22 to pour coffee. Yeah. Wayne says, hope Brett picked up some subs today from Ken's live stream, and he posted the link. Found it was already a sub. Yup. TJM, dilly. Henry says, big dog repair, Ken. Johnny Bravo, PBR is even worse. Yeah. Pabst Blue Ribbon, we used to drink that. That was like $10 for like a big case of it. And when you're young and you don't have any money, right? We're like, PBRs tonight? Yeah, PBRs, right? By the time you drink a bunch of them, you forget. Wayne says, Ken, Henry lives a full-time job today. Yeah. Ken's Mullinger, Mr. Mo-it-all, AOC stands for AOC. Yeah. So, yeah, just to catch up, I caught most of it. I caught the end of Ken Small Engines, like the last hour, and then I kind of was watching it in the replay while I was doing other stuff, because it's my usual Saturday. So, let's see. Henry, yeah. So the thing with what happened, Henry, which I don't think you really realized what happened, was it last weekend or whatever? I wasn't trying to put a link in. I had, when Brett came up, I think Ken was asking, do you know Archie from his live, whatever? And I was typing in, yeah. And then Brett gets up on the live, and I wrote in, something like, fellas, Brett has his own channel. You can't post a link. I know that. And I got banned, right? Or into timeout for a whole different reason. You weren't paying attention to any of that. So when you wrote in that you thought that I was trying to post a link or something, I was like, huh? No, it wasn't huh. It was like, what are you talking about? And then after I thought about it, it's like, what do you mean he I'm trying to post a link or something? I wasn't posting any links. And then at first I thought, well, maybe if I say something, if I go like this, yeah, right? And I type that, it comes up as Arch's Garage in orange or yellow. And I thought that maybe you thought I was because Klaus thought I was spamming. No, everybody was making me laugh, and I was making them laugh, and it was all this like private show going on. So no, it had nothing to do with me trying to post a link. I was just putting up a reminder to you fellas that he has his own channel, and then one of you guys, whoever's a monitor, the hall monitor, would have to put a link in, because I can't do that. But like I said, nobody was reading anything. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, Klaus timed you out and thought you were a bot. Yeah. No, he just thought I was spamming it. He says he's spamming, because it was so funny. I was reacting to what was going on, like the behind the scenes stuff. So if he was paying attention rather than trying to drive a point home to you, Wayne, right? That was so funny. You almost got him going today. You almost. And I think everybody was like, "Whoa, take it easy." You know, he knows a lot of stuff, but then sometimes he comes out with opinions, and then the opinion has to be the thing. You know, I heard some of that. I heard that part. I went, "Oh no, here we go again. No, it has nothing to do because they're crybabies." No. It's like funny because you mentioned something to him about, haven't you seen what's going on in Europe with all of the protests and everything and the farmers? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh my God, how do you miss that? First of all, it's happening in Germany. Last year it was the Netherlands, right? Because they want to get rid of 30% of the farming in the Netherlands. They want to wipe that out. So they were protesting, dumping huge containers of crap on the doorsteps of government buildings. He lives there. He doesn't even know that's happening. How do we know this is happening? I don't know. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that goes. It just happens. Sometimes people, they watch the regular news and they don't really care about what else is going on. And they're not going to tell you any of this stuff in like the news of the day, you know, on CNN and NBC and MSN and MSNBC. Like, they don't tell you crap. But, yeah, that was pretty cool. I listened to pretty much all of it today. I don't think I missed anything. And I wanted to talk about a couple of things. You guys and a few of the others you mentioned. Let me see if I can remember. I wrote it down just in case. You guys were talking about swept volume and squish. And I'm like, oh boy, right? Because I don't talk about my Nova or engine building or anything like that. So I figured I'll talk about it a little bit tonight, and we'll show about the Nova. I don't show the Nova and all that's from a different part of my life of engine building and custom cars and all of that. I generally don't talk about it because it's painful. So if I start to cry and get upset and leave, you know what happened, because it's painful. Like, I miss the car. I miss doing that stuff. It was a big part of my life. And so many things kind of exploded and went wrong in my life all at once that I was just trying to hang on, get my daughter through her issues. And she's doing good. But, you know, she almost died. And I was homeschooling her, and I couldn't work, and I was trapped here. And then I got really sick, and then I got divorced. And like everything, it's like, oh, my God, could you just... This is like house clearing. And I was really getting ready to move, so I was selling all this stuff. And I still think about it because I pretty much I was at the point where I sold almost everything I think I could have moved. And then I was like, with my brother, I'm like, bro, we need to get some Connex boxes and shit, right? Because I'm not going to just throw all this stuff away, right? I'm not going to sell everything. Like, that's insane, right? So we were talking about that. I'm like, well, he's like, well, because he's been here, you know, he knows. He's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, bro, just the tools and the shop stuff, like two trailers full. You know, what do you think? I'm going to get rid of everything? And I'm like, I'm going to want to bring some of the equipment too, like the finer stuff. Not everything that's out in the garden, but, you know, some of it. I'm not going to want to just toss everything to the curb. Let me catch up. You see, Robert says opinions are like, yeah, a-hole, yeah. Yeah, but opinions are fun, though. Like, educated opinions are really what most of us go on, a lot of it, really, because not everybody whips out a calculator. Well, that was funny. You guys are stupid idiots reading calculators upside down and shit. But not everybody rips out like, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention, all right, I got these from HIPAA. So HIPAA sent me these. You can't see them, fellas, but a lot of you guys know what this is, right? These little cards, like the metric conversions and stuff. I got my glasses on and I still can't see the damn things. Yeah, I have to they're so small. I have a nice, like in my drill index, I have one that's really more for like decimal, but it's the one that I have that's a little bit bigger than this will give you like letter drill bit conversions to tap sizes and things like that. But yeah, you can get these. They asked me, do I want to give these away and whatever? I'm like, well, I'm not gonna have like a giveaway to give this to one person. I'm like, that's lame. I'm like, give me a whole bunch. They sent me 2. They're actually different. Again, I can't read it. And I got my glasses on. One is fractions to decimals, decimals to millimeters, inch, metric tap drill size, and decimal equivalents. I mean, it's good stuff on a handy card. And they're like embossed in like a plastic. So they can handle getting, grease and whatever and getting wet and spilling coffee on it and everything. So I thought that was nice. It's, swept volume. Yeah, so I figured I'd show you guys a little bit about swept volume and what we use it for when building engines. Mostly it's used to determine your cubic inch, right? Your total cubic inch displacement. That's pretty much. But it's also used in figuring compression ratio, because if you change piston size, or if your wrist pin is in a different location of the piston, that will change swept volume. If you use a different crankshaft, that will change swept volume. So I figured I'd show you guys a little about that. And I wanted to show you guys a little bit about my Nova. It's mostly pictures. I do have some videos, but when I started my channel, I really started it with a really crappy video cameras, like this cheesy Canon thing. It took good pictures, but it took horrible video. And mostly what I was doing was just trying to, I had the VW here, the Camaro was here, really sweet Camaro, the Nova, and it was a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, well, why don't I just take some pictures and some video, and I'll put it up on the channel and I'll sort of create a channel. I wasn't really thinking about doing cars or anything on the channel. I was like, just legacy. So I have something up there and I can point to it and go, look, right? Mostly point to myself and cry. And so I did a bunch just to see how it would work. And then after that, I was like, well, I'll do some lawnmowers and stuff and some of my equipment. And I wasn't really thinking about a channel like now, right? Let me catch up to you guys. Let's see. So Ken said, yes, swept volume. By the way, I'm eating this. I can't stop eating it. This is so good. It's a brownie with fudge in it. And I just keep thinking about it. I got to play something for you guys so I can go off in the corner and eat that. Let's see. Mr. Mola, swept volume. Johnny Rose says, I like to watch European news channels, TVP, DW, etc., plus the Sky News out of Australia. Yeah. Ken says, Mr. Mola, life happens. Yeah, life is the crap that happens in between everything else. Yep, family first. Wayne says, Jake's taking the YouTube hiatus to work on a 67 Mustang. Wait till you see the finished product. Yeah, that's going to be serious. I think I mentioned to you that I had several 67, 68. When I first started, I started with my motor in my Mustang in the last year of high school in auto shop. It was another course I took, and we were on austerity for most of high school. So they had no money, so I financed the course. That's how I managed to do that. I said, well, we'll bring my car in here. We'll put this car back together. We'll go over the motor. We'll stick the motor in, and that'll be the course structure, and I'll pay for it. I worked a lot. I was constantly doing stuff like now, and they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that, because they didn't have anything. By the way, they had, I don't know if you guys remember any of this. They had, I don't remember the brand, but they were green. They were trainer engines, all on these benches, rows of them. And they were multi-fuel. They were diesel, there were gasoline, there was some that were propane. And I'm like, why can't we work with these things? I don't know. They gave me some bullcrap answer. I don't know. No one ever touched them. I don't know what happened to them. I'm sure they're gone now, but yeah, they were all like tons of them. I was like, why can't we work with these? Why don't we work with these? No. I'm like, well, what are we going to work with? Are you just going to give us lesson plans and look at pictures? I want to touch something. Yeah, there's a joke in that. Let's see. Yeah, I had 68s too. I had a bunch of them. Yeah, I used to call them Rustangs because here on Long Island with the salt and everything, they would just fall apart. That's why I got rid of it. The last Mustang I had, I took the motor out. I sold the motor. I sold a few parts, and I took an air hammer, an air chisel, and I cut it into 4-foot pieces and stacked it at the curb and called Special Collection. Yep. All my friends are like, "What did you do?" They went to work and they came back and there was this big pile at my curb. That's how I am. Let's see. Reminds me of starter. Yeah. Ken says, reminds me of my starter drill chart. Yeah. I like all those quick reference things. You know, if you're working with something a lot, you remember it, but then I forget the details of things. I'm a detail-oriented person, but I don't remember them. Kind of like when they used to ask Einstein all the time, like, you know, because he was really supposed to be really smart, but he couldn't never remember his phone number. And he never called it. Like, I couldn't remember. And he would say to people, he goes, well, I could tell you where to find it. You know, I mean, I know how to find it. Yeah, it's in the phone book. He just didn't want to be bothered. You know, I'm the same way. I'm like, I can't be bothered remembering all that shit. Yeah, Starrett. Yeah, yep. Let's see, Ken says, I asked for 2 carbs, they sent me 1. Oh, jeez. Johnny says, you can print those charts out from internet sources. I print them out big enough for me to see. Yeah, and hang them next to my mill. Yup. But sometimes it's neat. I just kind of chuck them into that box, and there's usually a magnifying glass out somewhere. I have a loop, too, somewhere. I don't know where it went. But I usually just read them quick. I used to keep all this stuff out. I also have books of this stuff printed out in pages. And I went looking for one the other day. I went looking for a couple of things I had in these books, and I can't find it. I got to clean up all the books and everything. It's out of hand, you know. Because then I got used to just going up on YouTube and just giving a quick search. So I made a mess of my shop. But that's a good idea, though, to print that stuff out in a bigger format and just leave them up. Wayne says, Ken, they wanted to work with us, and we said, dilly! Yeah, I just love that. It's just so ridiculous. Ken says, I wish I still had my first car, 55 two-door Chevy wagon. I know, those are so... And now it's worth a fortune, right? It's worth an absolute fortune. I'll show you a pic while I'm reading out some stuff. Oh, Brett's here. Hi, folks. We were just talking to Brett. Let's see. Wayne says, just pounded down some Shriner Christmas cake. Awesome stuff. Nice. Wayne says, I wish I still had my old Ford panel truck, flat black with a gold cross on each side. Sweet. Yeah, and I miss my car. And, you know, I had thought about selling it for years to get something different, but it wasn't, I sold it under duress. And because it was sold under duress after having it since I was really young, it freaked me out. And after I sold it, when I was selling it, my daughter took some really mint pictures of it. She's very good with stuff like that. And then she had them blown up and she framed them. And then she hung them up on my wall in my bedroom. And I went in, I looked at them all, and I took them down immediately and I buried them. And she came in, she's like, what did you do? I'm like, I'm not ready for that, Christina. Yeah, I can't look at that. So I'll show some stuff tonight, and it's time to get over it. It's been a few years now, I guess. I think it's mostly because I sold it under duress with everything else that was going on in my life at the time. So it may even be bringing back some of those memories, maybe. I don't know. But it's not the first car I've built, and it's not the first time I've gotten rid of one. And will I ever do one again? Is like, I don't know if I have it in me. I certainly don't have the money for it. You know, it's expensive. So Brett says, hi, let me just scroll up a little bit. Yeah, Ken says, 64, 68 Mustangs, aligned the front end, hit one bump, needed a new alignment, spindle under the shock. Yeah, because the shock towers would twist, crack, and fold in. Yeah, they were real pieces of crap. They really were. That was the other reason I'm like, the Nova has an actual front subframe in the front that's made out of metal, like actual steel. And then it becomes unibody. So... Because I had gone through all of that with the Mustang, folding shock towers, and it just, but it was well designed in terms of handling and performance, and it was a lightweight car. So I said, well, I didn't want a Camaro at that point. And I'm like, well, we'll try a Nova. And then I didn't like the way the original Nova front suspension was. So I removed it and I put a Camaro Trans Am front suspension in. And I'll show you some of that. I just took the whole clip, grafted it in, cut off the front. I made brackets to locate the 69 Nova bumper and everything else. And you'll see it in a minute. Let me come back to... So I kind of got everything I wanted, you know. It's Brett. Bro says, hell, I'm 73 and I still remember my high school girlfriend's phone number. No kidding. Wow. I used to write that stuff on the wall next to my phone in my room. And then one day my father painted the wall. And I'm like, Dad, what'd you do? He's like, well, you had to. I'm like, yeah, but that's where I kept all the numbers, Dad. They were like, you don't call anymore. Yeah, because I don't know your phone number. I wrote it on the wall, but my father painted over it. Anyway. So, yeah. Sacrilegious to cut that up, Arch. I know, but you know what? In those days, I would buy them for a couple $100. I did one where I took a body that had a 6-cylinder, and I was like, 6 cylinders better because we'll put the 8-cylinder in the 6-cylinder body because there's less stress on the body. Swapped over all the 4-lug to 5-lug. And then my nephew was born, which was way up north on the north end of the island. It had snowed really bad. And I was young, and I really needed tires. And my mom goes, you got to take me up to the hospital on the North Shore. I'm like, all right. So I get on the highway. Somebody cuts me off. The car gets into some ice. I try to compensate. I'm a new driver. Next thing you know, it's sideways, slams into the guardrail, and we come to a stop, right? Shoved everything over like this, right? I couldn't open my door, but my mother got out of hers because there was a big gap there now. So I climb out her end, and she's like, oh, Johnny, I hope you're all right. Sorry about your car. An ambulance was behind us, right, on the way up to the hospital. So they pull over and they're like, is everybody okay? And she's like, yeah, we're all fine. She's like, but where are you going? And he said where he was going. She's like, can you take me up there? Because, you know, it was her first grandson. So she left. I'm sitting there freezing, right? Finally, a cop pulls up like an hour later, right? And I'm like super cold. He tows me off the road into a ditch. Nobody can see me. I'm freezing, right? He just left me there. I ripped the seat covers off. I'm cold. Hours later, because nobody cared. I had no phone. I couldn't go anywhere. There was nowhere to go, and I wouldn't have made it anyway. I'm really freezing at this point. My sister shows up because everybody was at the hospital except for me, who was sitting on the side of the road with a beat Mustang. So that was the end of that car. I was like, and it was nice shape too. It was really nice. You could have bent it back, but it was bent. Like, it hit the guardrail. I don't know how fast we were going. We were going speed. And she just went, I was like, I'm just so tired of these cars. Like, they're just, you know. Let's see. Gained a few subs. Oh, there we go. Brett says he gained a few subs earlier. Nice. I saw you on there, Brett. I used 2 different drill bits. One was number 18. The other one was 964 drill bit. Yeah. All right. It says, I remember something else with my first girlfriend. Yeah. I remember that little Mustang. Yep. My friends would get in the back and they go, what's all this blonde hair hanging off the window crank? I just snicker. Yep. Red says, give me a sub if you like, Ken. Mr. Modal. Yeah, message retracted. Johnny Rose says, I remember that with that girl too. Yeah. Wait, hit the like button or you will end up in the pit of doom, the pit of misery to you. Please follow Brad to the pit of misery. This is so awesome. Let's see, this is, you can see, let's see, thanks, Ken. Now you can see my pressure washer series. Mr. Modal says, my whole bedroom walls were pages from Hot Rod, Carcraft, and Popular Hot Rodding. Yeah, same here. Yep. I was really big into it for just ever, you know. I would say between that and music was really it. But naturally, I started off with small engines, right? Everything was small engines when I started, and then I got into bigger and bigger things, and then it was the cars. So it was really the small engines that really got me started in all of it. Wayne thinks he remembers that phone number too. Yeah. Okay, good. You guys are subbing. I like Chris Alston's front clip for the 62 to 67 box Novas. Yeah. Yep. I actually went. Was it Alston, the guy in New Jersey? I actually went there at that point in time, and I was looking to get a full front half for the Mustang. And me and the ex went there, and we were checking that out. We actually went to that shop, and it wasn't like ridiculously expensive. That was a little bit above me, though, in those days. And I did almost everything. I had a little garage, but then eventually we turned it into an apartment. But I did a lot of it out in the driveway and outside. So, let me catch up here. Yeah. Super Chevy mags never got cut up. Yeah, I still have a lot of that stuff. But I was also into Fords. I had a Galaxy. I had the Mustangs. There was a Cyclone I wanted to buy for the longest time. I almost picked up a 64 Galaxy XL convertible with I think it had the 390 or something in it. I forget what it was. That car's worth a lot of money right now. It needed a little bit more work than I wanted to do to it. And I remember checking it out for years, but I like to stay away from convertibles. There's no reason why I got rid of that Volkswagen convertible. I rebuilt the whole thing and got rid of it. I'm done with that kind of stuff. Let's see. Henry says, I had a 1964 and a half Mustang convertible and rolled it over. Oh, my God, bro. Wow. Yeah, that is not the car to roll. Yeah, I can't believe you're still here to talk about it. Ken says, every time I pass by my first girlfriend's old house, I remember getting for the first. Good story, right? Yeah. Oh, those are good cars. They were fun to fool around in. The bench seats were better because you had more room to work, right? I was kind of sorry I took the bench seat out of the Nova. You'll see it in a little bit. First time getting a little mud for the turtle. Nice. Wade says, yeah, but when you were young, Arch, you were likely one of those nefarious-looking people that had no one would pick up hitchhiking. Yeah, no, then nobody would pick me up. Yeah. Yeah. Jamie says, oh, Jamie's here, dirty dog. TJM's laughing. Robin says, 1970 Fastback Mustang. Those were nice. Yeah. I had a 68 Fastback. I wish I still had that. That had a 289, and somebody put in, I think it was a 3-speed auto, standard in it. And that thing was really fast. The floorboards were shot. They used to call me Mr. Mustang because I had so many of them. Yep. Because you needed to have a lot of them. They didn't last. I mean, and we're going back. They were only like maybe 10 years old or something, or 15 years old. They just didn't hold up, you know. And then now they're too expensive to fool with. Everything is. Fabulous Fords magazine. Yeah. Yeah, I do like Fords. Let's see. Ken says, Ms. Wallace says, armor all the bench seat, make a right turn. Yep. Need a tube of seals and crofts after that. Yeah, Wayne says, Jake tried to find a fastback, but none for sale. They were not complete. He wanted to rebuild. So, yeah, because it's hard to find. I'll just show you guys real quick. Yeah, the 55 Ford that was in my neighborhood. And I've showed this before, and I just didn't have the money. I would have bought this, right, and let it kick around. There's a bunch of other pictures in here. There's some scantily clad pictures of I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara from Eden. I think I showed this last time or the time before it, but yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys are going to want to see that because slobs. I know how this works. Let me just show you this real quick. Go to the right monitor. Yeah, here we go. This was not far from me. Hold on. I got to get it to the correct monitor. And it's got the Y block in it, which is not my favorite motor, but it's an 8-cylinder. It's better than a flathead. And I don't want to build what I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. I can't afford anything like that. This is the amount of rust that was in it, which is crazy. I mean, it was in pretty good shape, considering its age. Now there's a seat for everyone to bring the ladies in, right? Chicks would be like, I ain't getting in that, you weirdo. Yep. No, it's got a few stains in the back there. But look at the floorboards. I mean, it's actually in pretty nice shape. Is the Y block. It's all there. It's probably like 200 and something cubic inch, 290 and something. That's fine. It's it's an 8-cylinder. Another pic of it. Probably an oil bath air cleaner. There's the other side. She's got a whiskey dent on her. There's a whiskey dent. But it's there. Got the vent windows. That's what I liked about my 69 Nova is it had the vent windows. But I kind of like the overall shape of it. It's a shoebox. And I was thinking this would be nice. I think the guy wanted like $5,000. I mean, that's not bad. I don't know what it looked like underneath. These are some other pictures. But let me come back. Yeah, of course you're going to want to see. You guys going to want to see Barbara from Eden. Right? That's Barbara from Eden. Yeah. She's kind of plasticky looking. Like that's like way too much makeup, and her hair is like probably more hairs. It's probably so much hairspray in her hair right now that it's like a plastic helmet. There's some good pictures in here. Let me show you the Nova real quick. Just the one picture real quick, and then I'll get into some of the Nova stuff. All right. I made the hood go that way. All right. It's got a Ford 9-inch rear in it. It has basically a Trans Am Camaro front suspension clip in it. It's got a Pontiac Ram Air 4 engine in it that's completely modified, which I'll show you guys a little bit about that in a bit. And yeah, that's a fiberglass hood with that scoop in it. And I made it open to the front. There's some trophies going back a ways. It was fun. It was fun building. There's some guy looking at my poster board I put up. The interior was mint. But, yeah, let me catch up. Let me catch up to you guys. And then we'll kind of cruise down a little bit of memory lane. Let's see. There's David. There's my brother David. John, that was in 1967. Yeah, that first one that I got from you was a 67. And then I had that red one, which was a 68 fastback. Yeah, I don't think you remember that one. Right? I didn't have it very long. It was ridiculously fast, and because it had no floorboards or anything, when you would shift, everything would move down there. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna kill me. Let's see, with the turn signals in the hood. Yeah, that was nice. I like it had the recessed sort of like vents on the hood, and there were the turn signals in it, and it was like a vent, and it came down and it faced you. That was a nice hood. I like that hood design. Oh, get comfortable here. Let's see. Since built Eleanor Mustang came out, the fastbacks. Yeah, that really kind of ruined it. Since Eleanor came out, it just made things go crazy. But now it's just crazy anyway because everybody thinks their old station wagon is worth like $5,000. I see some of this stuff that people put up. I'm like, that's not worth anything. And somehow or other they think they're going to get big money for it. Brett says, nothing like pressing some Flounder to Summer Breeze on the car. Yeah, stereo. Or Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf. Yeah. I think my Nova did not have a big stereo in it, though, because I used to just like to listen to the engine sounds. About a 56 Crown Vic with see-through roof. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Robert says, I almost bought a 1977 Ranchero for $1,800 back in the late 80s. Those are nice. Ken says, 292 Y block. Yeah, that's probably what's in it. Now, I've had the 390s apart and the 352s apart, so that would be a better motor. But at this point in my life, and you'll see, we'll go through the motor in a minute, and I'll show you what I did to it. I would be happy with just an 8-cylinder with a decent body that needed some loving. I could make it, quote, yard drivable first. Before the lockdowns and all that crap that happened, one of the things that got really popular, and you guys might know this, but a lot of the fellas down south, truck drivers, tow people, stuff like that, people with some room, they were coming across a lot of nice old tin. Some of them were 4 doors or whatever, and they were pulling them out, you know, of the weeds, wherever it was, and the woods and whatever, and they would bring them back someplace, and they would kind of clean them up a little bit and make them yard drivable, and they would video this and take pictures, and they'd put them up on different sites as yard drivable. And in those days, they were even offering delivery for less than $1,000, and the prices were $3,000, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 with delivery. $5,000, $6,000, you know, less in some cases. Just different, you know, like even that Ford. Well, now forget it, right? But I remember talking to my friend, the lawyer, like my friend Kerf, because he recently went up to Canada from North Carolina. He went up to Canada and he picked up a T-Bird. 60, I forget what 60 it is, 60 something, I forget. And he drove all that way and drove it back and hauled it all the way back. But before that, we was looking at some stuff, and it's like, you know, these prices are real reasonable. And, you know, the gas was a lot cheaper, and guys were looking to work. And so it was no thing for a real truck driver to load it on a flatbed or whatever and just drive it up to wherever, or drive it to wherever and drop it off and deadhead back, or try to find something to get them back just to, you know, earn a decent couple of days' wage. And these were yard drivable. The engine would run. They would stop in the yard to some degree. They could turn. They'd have the layout of everything. You could get a pretty damn good idea of what was under the trunk, what was under the hood, and what was under the tires and underneath the frame areas. And you could make a relatively, you know, decent decision if you wanted to get involved in it. Now forget it. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I forget it. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford to do anything again. But something like I just showed you for $5,000, he wanted $5,500, probably sold for $5,000, and he offered delivery, and it was here on the island. So there is stuff around, but stuff like that's a little far between. Let's see, Ken says, Ken said the Eleanor thing, nothing like pressing some flour. Ken says, how about a 56 Crown Vic? Almost bought a 77 Ranchero, 292 Y block. Well, Crag. Yeah, I actually like the Cragger, the old Craggers, but they rot though. But it kind of looked neat like that. Like that, to me, I would have just cleaned them up, whatever rust was on it, and been happy with that. One of the things I didn't like about the Nova was I had done 2 paint jobs on it, and even before I sold it, I had to re-go over the clear because it had become blotchy. And when you have a really nice car, every little thing, people walk past it, it gets scratched, it gets dinged, it gets nicked. It's like every little thing. And then it started taking on water in the trunk because when the gasket started to go, because it was getting old, like since I did it twice. It was starting to get old, and I'm like, this thing's just going to get ruined. How do I keep up with it? When I won one of my trophies, I remember this is going back about 14 years or so, or 15. I had hurt my back really bad, and I was really crippled. For a couple of years, it sat outside underneath the cherry tree, and no one ever thought to cover it for me. My daughter was very young, and the ex-wife never thought to cover it, you know, and I couldn't move. So when I started to feel a bit better, my friend Liz, as I had said to her, I said, this thing's a mess. She was looking at it. She actually came over, and we spent about 2 weeks, mostly her, because I was able to move a little bit more, but we polished it. The cherries had literally stained deep into the clear, and it was getting close to the base coat because it was a clear coat base coat. And we had to wet sand it and polish a lot of it. And she was in the trunk cleaning and detailing. And when you do a show, you got to paint everything. If there's anything with any rust or anything exposed, you got to put something on top of it. And that's how I got first, second, and third. And I think I got second or third place, because it had gotten beat up. So that clear coat was suffering from that point forward. If it had been covered, it wouldn't have suffered like that. And those kinds of experiences will break your heart. Like I couldn't work on it. I couldn't even clean it. And I really couldn't even cover it. I was really struggling to move. And I was still trying to work and take care of my daughter. So it kind of got shoved off to the side, and then every now and then I would try to bring it into the garage and leave it there, but it would get in the way. It'll break your heart. If you have a really nice car, you have to take care of it. Or you have to have a big property and you have to be able to put it someplace where you can put it in a cocoon, like a time capsule. And then if you get a little older and things catch up, you can, if you have a little bit more time, you can come back to it. But if you don't have that, it will rot on Long Island. Like this building. Let me see, catch up. Plastic helmet. Yeah. Oh boy, I got to catch up to you guys. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, that was mine. Yeah, that's my was my Nova. Yeah, God forbid. Yeah, Red says, God forbid, don't strike a match near that hair. Yeah. Remember that happened to Michael Jackson? His hair went on fire. That's an advertisement for hairspray. Yeah, that was mine. Let's see. Ken says, I had the same Wii and Triangle air cleaner. Yeah. I had a lot of stuff for that car. Oh, my God. Well, I'll show you more of it. Johnny says, wow, back when I was autocross and I used a totally built custom 70s and suspensions, 74 HD Trans Am subframe was king. Yep. When he says, sad to get rid of that Nova Arch. Do you have nightmares to sell? Yeah, constantly. Seriously. Not kidding. You wake up in a cold sweat. You get depressed. They used to ask me when I was going back to, with the diabetes and everything, when they were first diagnosing me, they were like asking me, like, do you have depression and stuff like that? And I would answer them, yes. And they'd be like, well, what is it? I'm like, I could sold my custom car. And they're like, huh? They're like, yeah, but you're dying of diabetes and everything else, you know? And I'm like, nah, I don't care about that. We're all going to go sooner or later. I sold my car, right? It's weird. It's like cutting off a piece of you. And I wasn't ready to let it go. But the good Lord has other plans, fellas, so sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. You know, like I said, at one point I thought about selling it to get something different. Let's see, back when I was autocrossing, I got that one. Sad to get rid of that Nova Arch. You have nightmares to sell it. Yes, yep. There goes that chair. Yeah, the chair. I think the Ranchero is coming back into production. I wouldn't be surprised. Ken says, the 350 from my 55 is still in my mom's basement since 1983. That's a time capsule right there. And those are good motors. By the way, speaking of, I had 383s, 283s. That Camaro that was in my yard, right? We had all of these motors that we had done. That was a 351. Actually, we had built a weird motor at one point. Piston race engines, Joe Aragona, all of these people that we knew all of the machinists, and we were all very big into it. One doing something a little bit different than the other. I've done frame offs. I even got a couple of my friends into frame offs. We did a 409. There was a lot of cool stuff going on. 350s, 383s. I had a really nice 283, which I'm sorry I got rid of because it was really well built. It got very good gas mileage, and it would make a great motor today because it made decent. I put nitrous on it, like 200 something horsepower shot. Yeah, that was insane. Yeah. When I worked at Grumman, I remember when I got out to, I had a red Nova, and I got out to Calverton, and I backed it into the hangar. So I was new, and I went to get my toolbox out, and the fellows were looking at the hood scoop and the red Nova and the nice rims, and then they saw the big container of nitrous, and I had the arming switch on my B&M shifter, so I could just drive around like normal, and then if somebody pissed me off, I would just arm the nitrous, purge it, and go. And they saw that, and they all looked. People are coming around from the shop, they're checking this thing out there. One guy says to me, he goes, you'll fit right in here. Yeah. He goes, you'll do fine. I was a young fella, too. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Nitrous is cool. You blow your motor up, though. You got to be careful. But that 283 didn't care. I didn't know this, but my brother will attest to it. When my friend Arthur built that, I put it in the Nova, and it started knocking. And I thought he sold me a bum motor, and he got really upset. He was, like, very apologetic. He's like, no. I didn't know this, but the balancer, well, there was no balancer on the front of that motor. It really didn't need one. It had a flange where steel crank. So it had a flange, and you put that on the snout of the crank, and it just kind of pressed on, and then the pulleys went on that. and there was no bolt or anything. And it had the taper sort of got crappy, and it started to walk its way off, and it would bang on the crank, and it sounded like a major knock. And I had no idea because I was new into that even in those days, and I had never seen a 283 before that. I mean, the 283s, the original 283s had road draft tubes. And that's a little bit, I don't know if you guys remember road draft tubes. You guys remember driving down the road and when you were kids, whatever, in your parents' car, and there was a black line down the middle of the road? That's because there were no PCV valves. It was just a baffle underneath the intake, and it ran a tube outside of the block, came down behind the motor, and a 45-degree cut on the backside. And that negative pressure would help purge all of the combustion gases, the unburned junk and the oil from inside of the engine, and it just dumped on the road. And then, of course, if it rained a little bit, all that oil and crap, you could get all squirrely. And that's what remember that line that would run right down the center? Well, that's what was going on in those days. So, we came a long way. I don't know if you guys remember that. Let's see, Wayne says, Johnny Bravo says, I still have an almost daily drive race prep 71 Camaro. Fun car for sure. Wow, bro. Good for you. Wayne says, somewhere in Arizona, there must be a scrapyard full of excellent old vehicles, just like the aircraft. Yes, there are, but they're getting ridiculously priced, and some things are just not there anymore. They've been used up. There used to be a lot of those. Now they're appearing elsewhere. And that's why some of those guys that I was telling you about earlier were going and finding all this and making these, quote, yard drivers. They started looking deeper in for good potential stock. Let's see, Ken says, my buddy is building an all-steel with 40 wheelies with 671 blown 392 Hemi. Wow. Let's see. I just moved up, and wow, I gotta catch up with you guys. All right, here we go. Let's see. Wayne says they shut down production of the 289 because they would run forever. Yeah, I like those motors. I also built a 289 HP, and I was gonna build a 302 Boss, but then I said, all right, enough. I'm done. I sold the HP. That was a nice motor. Bravo says, because I said a Krager Bags, classic chrome 15 though, Chevy bolt pattern. I like those. Ken says the guy wanted 70 grand for the Willys as a roller. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. In the 70s, they were $2 grand. I know. Bravo says 392 out of a 50s DeSoto. Yeah, Fire Dome engine. Ken says Chrysler. Yeah. I actually like some of the Chryslers. Wayne says, you must have lubed that chair, Arch. Kind of quiet tonight. Yeah, I was thinking about doing it. It's not really lubed. I'm not moving around as much. Brett says, I remember the joke that was going around right after the Michael Jackson's hair fire. You remember that? And says, it was built by Al's Toy Box in Connecticut. Ralph says, I finally got the header pipe attached to the muffler body today. Did a video on the matter. Nice. I saw a little bit about what you were doing. I think you decided to screw it on, which is fine. Yeah, as let's see, Wayne says, as long as the part being cut off is not from the middle area of the body, yeah. Ken says, Windsor or Cleveland, 350 Windsor engine. Those were nice. I had a Cleveland also. I never did anything with it. It sat around and I sold it. The ports on that were massive. Ken says, 348, 409W motors are cool. Yeah, that 409. And I remember when he started it up, that thing was really cool. When he started up, we had the body off at 64 Impala, and we just had the frame. So we put it on the frame, the tranny, he started up, and it was running really, really hot. And he didn't know what to do, my friend. I'm like, well, we have to break it in, bro. So I said, just stick the hose into the radiator and just let it run. It was really, really warm out. He's like, yeah, but it's like really cold water. I'm like, dude, what else are you going to do? You got to run it. We stuck it in there and ran it for a while, and eventually it broke in. It didn't break or anything, but he got married and sold it. That was the first one to go. Yeah, we never finished that car. That was a really nice car. I think he was real sad that Bravo says, I also have a small block 409 sitting on a stand in my garage right now. I have a 383. Yeah, my old Camaro. Ken says, yeah, Laughing Gas was cheap and fun. It was good, cheap fun. Ken says we would rev the 283s to 10 grand because they could. Yep, there's Robert. Hello from Long Beach. Robert also has a really nice car. I still got his. He's got his Chevelle. Was it a 73 Chevelle with the 307 that he hot rodded in? It's a beautiful car. Wayne says, hard to believe you gotta run a flipper coming to pick up snowblower belts and say happy holiday. All right, Wayne, I'll see you later. Blarney Stone says, hello, Merry Christmas, everybody. Ken says, later, Wayne, Boneyard Garage phone. Hey, you all. Boneyard Garage is here. Let's see, Mr. Modal, Motor with Flatheads combustion chamber was in the block. Yeah. Ken says, yeah, it was all in the block. It was really weird. It's like the cylinder is the combustion chamber on those heads and that engine. Hey, Boneyard, 72, Robert says. This is high, Ken. So let's just take a quick peek. Let me move a few things around. So that's an over, and we're just going to go through a couple of things on the motor, just to, for something to do, and maybe it'll kind of shock me out of, my issues. Rob will tell you, because my friend Rob's here, right? So let's see. Here's the one pick. That's the engine. And we'll get a closer look at it in a bit. Let's see. That's the trunk. So this is one of the car shows I did. And I'm just going to kind of cascade through some of them quick. There are some videos up on the channel. So I had put a Ford rear in it, Ford 9-inch rear, and narrowed it. And then I decided to put a sway bar on it. So I made the sway bar. I moved the shocks in. These are the mufflers. I did the dual exhaust 2.5 inch to 2.25 over the bends. And it had a crossover pipe and a Y pipe in it as well. Or the X pipe is really what it was called. And these are just drums from a Ford rear. I was clearancing the pipes and mounting it this one day. And I would experiment with different things. I was adjusting the brake pedal. So it had, and I'll show you that in a minute. I had put a treadle vac in it, actually, which is it works off of, the treadle vac worked off of power steering pressure. And that's what boosted the brake system. I didn't use it. I had a vacuum for a little while, and I said, no, I'll put a treadle vac in it. And I'll use hydraulic boost from the power steering system to actuate the brakes. That was another thing it had in it. Yeah, there's the engine. And then I put AC in it. The car, actually, I put original AC in the car because I had all the stuff. And then I went back and I went to Vintage Air and I put in a compressor and I modified it again. And you can see here, right over here, this is part of the treadle vac system I installed. So that's your braking system. And it was a fun car to drive. It was very, very powerful. And we'll cruise back through a few things here. I'll show you what the engine will look like in a bit. Let's see. This is some shots I did a bunch of years ago. And I just happened to be out one day and I cleaned the car up and I wanted to just, this is one of the iterations of the car when it was still nice. And I think my friend Liz was there that day. She'd stop by. And that was the treadle vac. So, that wasn't too... I put a sunroof in it and I was never happy that I did that. I always thought that was a bit of a mistake. I liked it when I was young, but I didn't like it later. Interior was really nice. I put some nice leather seats in it. I put a console in it from a Camaro. I put a tilt column in it from something else. I think the seats were Mitsubishi Starion seats. Yeah. I think that's what they were. I got up on the ladder and I was just taking... That's my old dog, Hojo. That was a while ago. I think Liz took a bunch. There's my friend Liz. Oh my God, she's like, it was like 100 years ago. That's before she had children. There's Madison back there. There's my other dog. Those are some nice shots. Came out really nice. Yeah, that's a little bit of the treadle vac right there. See, this is some of the treadle vac right here. This is like what's in my van, which works really well. You get great boost from it. That's some of the plumbing for it. This thing ran really smooth. And I put subframe connectors in it. The whole exhaust system came apart. All right, got a dry shaft loop up in there. And you could take it down and clean it and paint it, which I did several times. Now that's the chassis from Trans Am, Camaro, Firebird. And I put the cowl tracks in. And I moved the shocks inboard. There's a subframe connector up there. It still needed, there's a subframe connector there. I had pretty much gotten everything really nice. This wasn't before I sold it. By the time I sold it, these are the tunable mufflers, which is kind of neat. I enjoyed that. I could make it quiet. So this is the front subframe. That's like an 1.25 inch sway bar installed in it. Tranny cooler up in there. And had much better steering geometry, plus all of the brakes and spindles and everything was all more modern. Power steering. You had to relocate all of that stuff. The power steering is up in the front, not in the rear. It just made a lot of sense to me. It was a much better design than the early Nova stuff that they had. That's why they lost Trans Am in the late 60s with the Camaros and the Firebirds. The Mustangs would beat them and the foreign cars would beat them because those early subframes sucked. The steering geometry sucked. There's some different pics of that. And so I narrowed the rear down. I put a high offset rim in the back, and I massaged the wheel openings so I could fit big tires. These are like 245, 60, 15s. And a little bit smaller in the front. Nice tire in the back, battery in the back. Everything was nice. Yeah, some blurry pics. That's a cool pic. I was thinking about painting it a little bit darker green at one point, especially after I saw these pics. All right, let's get into the motor. Let me show you the motor real quick. This is 2012. So I put a different cam in it. And so this is a degree wheel, right? So I ran a different cam, and I had like a few different cams. This cam, I kind of designed this cam on a cam software program, and a lot of people thought it wasn't going to work right. It really worked well. These are some really nice lifters, rocker arms I picked up. So everything is custom. These are Edelbrock heads. Everything is completely custom, so you have to figure your own cam geometry and your push rod geometry and literally everything. So when you talk about swept volume and things like that, you actually have to figure this stuff out when you change things. So there's the block there. And I'm actually figuring out what my lift would be. And that's a tool I made to help me check valve lift and duration. Now this is just like a 1975 Pontiac 400 block, but I had fully machined, completely blueprinted. All of this was blueprinted at one point, but I had it apart a whole bunch of times to fool around with it. Nice crankshaft, everything was radiused, just a beautiful crank, and I had polished it one more time and deburred it. I just gave it a quick hone, got everything clean, and I put studs in it. Originally, I didn't have studs. Plastic gauging, right? Check for clearance. There's all the connecting rods, which I had deburred and polished all these connecting rods. And these were TRW slugs. As you can see, the beams are polished. And I started fitting in. This was a custom. I customized this as a. This is to basically scavenge oil. They call it a windage tray. I had a scraper and a windage tray to scrape the oil and return it back to the pan. And I had to customize this because, you know, everything, like, things don't really fit right when you buy them. So you have to figure stuff out on your own. I'll get to the text in a minute. So these are the heads. And these rocker arms I got rid of. These were aluminum rocker arms that I didn't like these. Let me get to the next part here. And this is like head CC. So I CC'd the heads again and balanced them all. They were pretty close. The valves were huge. They were 2 1/4 inch stainless steel swirl polished, valves for intake. And I forget what the exhausts were. Everything is polished. All the combustion chambers were polished. Everything was ported and relieved. So when you check for swept volume, this is one of the things that you would CC. You want to find out what your quench is, what your squish is, right? All that stuff. That's how you kind of figure. So these are the heads. D-port style head. And I put a header on it, but I put a cast iron header on these. These are the valves getting ready to go in with the valve springs. See the swirl polish on them? Always just nice to have stuff like this. That's why I miss it, right? God knows what I spent on this stuff. I don't know. Over the years, you know. I'm coming back in a minute. We're almost done with the engine. Just a few more shots. Just checking to make sure that everything is good. I'm getting a good seal. Yeah, they're basically, look how pretty, right? There's nothing like stainless steel. Yeah, I get a wet spot from looking at some of this stuff. By the way, I don't know if you could see this, but there's this little bit of black right here. When I was doing some relieving, I went a little too far with the die grinder, and I just tickled the water port. And it was freezing cold out when that happened. And I put JB weld on it. It was absolutely freezing cold. It was many, many years earlier to this day. And I put a heat lamp on it and covered it in tinfoil and left it for a day. And never, ever did I ever have a problem with it again, which I thought was just crazy. I was going to give it to a guy and have him TIG weld it. I'm like, I never needed to. Like, literally everything is relieved. You have to check everything when you do this kind of stuff. You have to check for clearances on everything. Anything could possibly hit, especially when you rev the piss out of it. This is just a balancing port I made to balance the two heads so that the water would flow. We had some heating issues, some cooling issues, and I'll explain that in a minute. That's the motor dressed out with the sand and pump on it. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the big SI-12 or the 12 SI, and she's getting ready to go back in again. So you could see here, actually, this is where I made the brackets to mount the bumper. That was done many, many years earlier. Mallory, ignition. I just kind of cleaned everything up and just shrunk it back in again. There it goes. These are the headers. All right, really nice. They're cast iron, so I never had any leaks, and they flowed very, very well. There's the grill. Oh, look, a shit video. God, I was a young man. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Okay, let me come back to you fellas. I'm coming. Let me catch up. Oh, God, I got a lot of stuff to catch up. Oh, let me go back up. Okay, I'm getting there. Let's see. I'm getting there. There's Robert. Boneyard says, hey. Okay, I remember that. Yep. Busher Chambers in the block. Where it says 72. Let's see. Here we go. Johnny says, the last time I was in Long Beach was son competing at the Walter Pyramid World's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament. Sorry, Archie, didn't have more footage of that big generator. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Brett, I didn't want to write anything because I think it's rude, right? But not to be a dick or anything like that, but Brett, you were not behind the camera. You were in front of the camera, and boy, could we tell watching that video, right? That guy is not as good with the camera as your neighbor is. He had his fingers in front of the lens. And when you went to show, like, the oil, like you were checking the oil, you went to show the oil, like, you're holding the dipstick, and the guy takes the camera, and he puts the camera down by his chest, and he physically looks at the dipstick. Meanwhile, the camera is looking somewhere down here, instead of, like, being like, oh, I'll just look through the camera and look at the dipstick. And, like, I could tell you were looking at him, giving the eye, and you're like, it almost felt like you were ready to go grab the camera from him and be like, no, bro, you need to do this. Like, aim here. Like, let me do it, right? So, yeah, big difference between you running the camera or your neighbor running the camera and that fella running the camera. And again, not to be, I could tell. I'm like, no, I want to see the dipstick, bro. What are you doing with the camera? Stop. And I'm watching you, and it's like, And then there was almost a shot of the front, which it had a really nice grill, like on the front, like all the controls in it. The front of that generator was pretty cool. And he just kind of like slid past it. I'm thinking, no, stop, zoom in, come in, we want to see that. I'm like, oh, man. It's hard when you're a YouTuber and somebody's helping you. And like the guy, he didn't know, right? He had no idea. He was not a YouTuber. He had no intentions of ever being one. You must have just gave him the camera. And that was too funny, though. I'm like yelling at the screen. Like, let me see the dipstick. What are you doing? I don't know where you're pointing the camera. Right? And Brett's just like doing his thing. Oh, that was good. Let's see, Ken says, the old GT qualifiers would get them at Town Fair Fire. Yeah, GT qualifiers were fun. They were decent. And the old BF Goodrich stuff. And then they went to like Dunlop for a while. And those tires, though, when I sold the car, it probably needed tires. Like, they were a little checked, but they weren't terrible. But then again, you're driving around an expensive car like that, beating on it. The guy sent me a video. There's a story behind that. He was a cop. He bought the car. Well, actually, let me catch up first. Hold on. Let's see. Then came out the Dunlop Radial GT. Yup. Is that a Wii and air filter? Yup. Ken says GM head treadle vac. 1957. Yeah, they came out that a long time ago. Was that a B&M shifter? Robert says, low battery, got to run, heading home. Okay, Rob. Super Trap mufflers, they were awesome. With discs, yup. And you could tune it. And it was nice to be able to tune for back pressure. That was the thing that I kind of wanted. I went with actually a different cam, a smaller cam, because the bigger cams, the problem with a lot of those things is they foul the motor. When the motor starts to foul, it's because you're not burning the fuel. You'll ruin the engine on a street engine. Lopey cams and everything are for shows and for racing. You want to burn it. As we know, when we talked about this more recently, even on these small engines, if you're wasting fuel, you're stripping the rings and the cylinders of oil, and you're going to wear the engine out. And I was telling my friends, like, no, I got to get this cam out of here, bro. If it's fouling the plugs and I can't solve that, it's not going to burn it at lower RPMs, and it's still a street car. It's going to ruin the motor. And it started to. It actually started to wear the cylinders a little bit. And I made all those changes, and I did all this stuff to it, and I was like, wow, she ran so smooth. And I think there is a video of it. I'll find it in a little bit. It ran so nice after going back over it. I even lowered the compression a little bit because it was like at least 10.5 to 1 at one point. And, gas, they took the MBTE out of the gas, then they started going to alcohol. And I'm like, I can't even run this damn thing properly because the gas was different when I first built it. No Jessel rockers. No, I went with not a TRW, a PRW roller fulcrum, roller tip, but they were cast iron. The aluminum's deflected too much. They moved around. Aluminum is for racing. It's you want for street and a high lift cam with some nice springs. I was like, no, these got to come out. There's too many problems with them. I went with a good PRW cast iron bodied lift rocker arm, and I changed the lifters a little bit. I even used to use the road lifters. I had road lifters in the 283 for years, and they worked pretty good. You could put a slightly bigger cam in and then put those lifters in. The only thing is they made a racket, and I never liked stuff like that. ARP hardware was all throughout that engine, all throughout it, everywhere. I don't know what I had into that motor. It probably was like 10 grand, honestly, over the years of doing stuff to it. That car, that guy that bought it, and I'll tell the story in a minute. Let's see, Robert says, today young people need daddy's money to go Summit Racing and get the parts to do a car today. Yeah, yep. Welded pickup, yep, all of that stuff. CC with a Barrette. What memories? Yeah, I still have the Barrette, yeah. So we were talking about, swept volume and all that. You need to know all that. If you want to make changes, you need to know how big your motor is. I think it only came out to about 413 total cubic inches is what it really ended up being, something like that. I actually did go 60 over on the pistons. But then if you change, start changing things like pin height, they had, in those days, people were fooling around with changing the position of the rings. But then again, if you're building a motor for racing, it's very different than if you really want a nice performance street engine that's going to hold up to beaten and occasional racing. You want to stay away from a lot of that crazy stuff. A friend of mine made a 391. It was a very weird motor. It had, I want to say 327 or 283 rods in it. It had a stroker crank. It was in a 400 block, Siamese block, and the fellow Ed over at Piston Race Engine, he was doing some weird stuff. It sounded like a diesel engine. Every time he came up the block, eventually that motor lost oil pressure. We used to say it was the motor that was never meant to be, but this guy built mouse motors, and that's what he did, and he raced out east a lot back in the day until a clutch explosion took out half his foot. And it was a good motor, but you had to clearance everything in the block in order to get it to spin because things would hit. And the angularity was too much for that motor, so that's why it sounded like a diesel. It was a very strange sound. It sounded like a diesel. It really did. It was very weird. I wish he still had it. It was kind of a neat motor, but it ate itself. Those were, I don't remember if those were Manley valves. I forget. Bronze valve guides, yup. The Sanderson headers were nice. Ken says Sanderson headers. No, this was an aftermarket company. Those were the original design headers for Pontiac Ram F4. There were two types of Ram F4 headers. They were both made in aluminum originally, and they would warp, and they didn't last. And then they went to cast iron, and those were hard to find. This was a company that started making them in cast iron, and it was a new type of cast that they were working with, and they claimed it would not crack. I never had any of those crack for as long as I owned it. I bought them new. Yeah, Rob says, switch to a phone for a few more minutes. Nice. Welcome back, Robbie. He says, yes, I had to, Bravo says, he says, you look like machine the spring perch to relieve high lift cap. Yup. And those were 1.65 rockers. Yeah. That's the crazy stuff. Like, we were always trying to figure out where you could tweak something. If you could take it away here, you could give it over there. If you had to take it away here, you could maybe get it back over here. Because it was that balance of street versus race. And I actually walked things back a little bit more towards street. And it was the day that I raced Robbie, right? We were down racing each other. It was the same motor, but it was set up differently. And then I got the bug and I wanted to race for a little bit, and then things happened and I never really did it. And so I kind of brought the whole engine back to much more streetable. And it ran so good, so smooth, had so much power. I let my friend Steve drive it one day, and the corner is literally 2 houses down that way. So 2 houses, he got to in front of my house, and as he was passing the house, he was already at 80 miles an hour. I heard him, right? He's like, dude, he goes, what the hell did you do to this thing? It's like insane now. I'm like, I know, it's insane. Yeah, used to be able to steer that car from the rear. Like if I was on this side of the road and I needed to make a U-E, I would just go, whoa, and just turn the car right around. Just hit the gas, leave it in first, pull it back, and it would just swing it right around. If anything, like it was like lubricated, in the rear. That was my buddy, Brett says, that was my buddy Rich. Technology isn't his strong suit. Brett says, my fat ass slumped over the top of the generator checking the oil level. Yeah. It was still a good video. I just wanted to see the front. I thought that was a cool generator. I like generators. I don't know that much about them. Like, I know enough, I know. And Rob thinks he beat me, but he didn't. He still says that. Like, meanwhile, I had my friend was there too. My other friend was there. He was like right there. And like Rob, sitting here right now, I raced his Chevelle in the more stock form of my engine. He thought he beat me the whole time. He'll still argue this. Meanwhile, if Jeff was here, he'd be like, no, Rob, you did not beat him. He beat you. Yeah. But he still thinks that, so we got to let him think it, because he's going to scream and yell, and he's going to get all upset. I beat you! I love it. Yeah, Rob was there that day. Yeah. Oh, it was tight. It was close. Ken says, clutch explosion. No SFI approved scatter shield. He said, and Rob has a piston race engine. Yes, Eddie is one of the guys. I had Eddie do work, and I had Joe Aragona. And Eddie did work on Rob's 72 Chevelle, his motor. And beautiful. It was the Mouse Factory. I don't know what clutch he had back in the day. They ran all kinds of stuff. You're going back 80-ish, somewhere around there. Do you remember, Rob, what happened to Eddie's foot with the clutch explosion? What was he running that blew up on him? Because when we started building motors, he was still walking around with a cane. If you remember, right? Did he have a cane? Was he walking around with a cane when you had your motor built? Ken says, oh, did you ever see Scott Shafarov race down there? I never saw him. No. He says he has his time slip. I think I have my time slip somewhere. Yeah. Ken says, Ms. I beat you. Dilly. Yeah. 30 horsepower V-twin engine on that. It was a big generator. Yeah, that's big. That's a big motor. Yeah, those are fun days. That was the original iteration. And to be quite honest, I should have left it like that. Should have just done a few other things to it. And because I had built that car originally without a lot of this stuff, I did put the subframe in. I put a more, subdued engine in it. I did a lot to it. And I think my total cost was about $5,000 back in the day. And that was all it cost. Even the paint job. And the guy hung 2 quarter panels on it and painted the car for like $2,000. I had a guy do it. Then I repainted it, and I did some more work to it a bunch of years later after I fooled around with it some more. I should have left it, quite honestly. That's why I say that might have been later, Rob. Yeah. Ken says, it's getting late, got to run. Good memories. Thanks for stopping in, Ken. Enjoyed your show today. I managed to catch all of it. I caught up with it. I was just too busy. Brett says, now Charlie is in here. Meow. Yeah, what's up, Charlie? Yeah, those are some good days, some good fun. That's why looking at that, you didn't see it, Rob. Yeah, let me run it again for Rob. Hold on. If his phone holds out. I just want to run the 55 past him. This was in the area recently. I just don't have the money, but I just wanted to show Rob. $5,500. And with the Y block, 292 or whatever it is. And that's the amount of rust. I couldn't believe it. All right, let's go back real quick. That little bit there. All right, I'll just roll through it real quick. And that's the Y block engine, which is, that's fine. It's got a whiskey dent. A little bit of, somebody had repainted this, so there's some old body work. You can see it starting to show through. Here's the floorboards. Not bad, right? Must be an out-of-state car. That's all there is, I think. Yeah, I think that's all I had of that. We'll come back. But that was pretty, fun times. We had a lot of different cars and fooling around with different things. And there was like a lot of stuff I did to it, suspension-wise. And, it was always something going on back there. It was constant improvements to the car. And when I got the Rochester carburetor, I actually put a video out of the Rochester carburetor tuning it. It's actually one of my, believe it or not, it's actually one of my, well, it used to be one of my hot videos. It's up there. It's definitely up there with some other vids. People, I didn't do a good job either. I was like one of my first vids I ever did. And you can barely see it. And my hands are in the way because the camera is crap. I had like no proper stands to set the camera up properly. But I wanted to just show some of this work I did to the, tuning a Rochester. And that thing was tuned so well. And I think I must have had about 5 carburetors, and I picked different parts, the bodies that I wanted, different parts that I wanted that I thought were the better ones, and I put the whole carburetor together and tuned it. And that thing ran so smooth. I like the small big secondaries and tiny little primaries. There's the chair. Hear it? There it is. Let's see. Yeah, that was a good show earlier. Yeah. I forgot to say Merry Christmas to Ken. Well, I said it all in the beginning, so. Yeah, what do you think of that, Rob? That it's gone now, but the guy would have even delivered it. He was asking $5,500. He was not far, and he would have even delivered it. And it probably could have got it for $5,000. But I don't have that kind of money. There was a small period of time I was looking at an old T-Bird, like 63 or something. It was the one with the big round taillights that looked like jet exhausts. It was like $2,000 or something with the 390 in it. And my daughter was actually going to lend me the money, and I'm like, no. Besides, honestly, I think the shoebox is more my speed right now. Something that I could make yard drivable, clean it up, do a little farting around, put it on a channel, maybe even if I start a different channel, noodle around with it, and then over time, nothing special, like nothing really fancy. Take the motor apart, clean it up, maybe do a jiffy rebuild on it just to check its condition. A lot of looking the other way on things so that you don't spend the money on it, and just kind of tool around with it, put it together, and have some fun with it. And if I made a separate channel, even if I put it on this channel and people really liked it, then I would consider doing something different to it, over time. But I can't afford it, and it just takes too much time to do this stuff. It's crazy. It's the brownie. Let's see. Brett says, I used to see a lot of those drive-in diners and malt shops. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The red sled. Yeah. Yeah, that was the other Nova I had. I had a different Nova. I'll show that next time. I have to go find it. A lot of those pictures I have are actually pictures. That's like pre-digital. Yep. Yeah. Rob says just slightly worse than his Chevelle. Yeah. A Jasper engine? What's a Jasper engine, Robert? Mailhouse. Robert says, what I find funny is back in the day, 67, those cars were hated back then. Falcons, Darts, crap like that. People are now big into them. Yeah. I like the early Barracudas. Oh, Reman. I don't know anything about it. I'll have to look into that. They build engines? I've been starting to watch two things because I didn't want to watch any of this stuff. Starting to watch, I watch this guy does a lot of rebuilds. Down south somewhere, I think he's Florida or something. A lot of engine work. And machinist videos. Nothing crazy. More stuff on some of the newer, small little machines, lathes and stuff. And some of the stuff that people talk about. Because around here, there's still a lot of the older machinist stuff for sale. Because it used to be huge here. It still is in Connecticut, but it used to be huge here. There's still some remnants of this stuff around for a few $100. I don't really have the money or the room for it, but it's like Johnny's got, it's like you're into all that stuff. I was thinking, well, one for the channel and two for just because I want to get into it and make some things and whatever and be able to turn bushings and screws and stuff like that. What would I want to do, let's say a few years from now on YouTube? Like if I keep doing this, it's Arch's Garage. It's not Arch's Small Engines for a reason, because I work on all kinds of things. And I want to also get into some of these old tractors a little bit more, maybe dealing with some of these old engines, the bigger engines, getting into rebuilding them, making parts for things that maybe don't exist anymore or just are ridiculously too expensive to buy. I don't know. Like what would I want to do in the future? Like what does Arch's Garage look like 5 years from now if I'm still here? I'm still alive and I'm still here or wherever I am. I still want to do YouTube. Like what do I want to do? How many how-to carb rebuilds can you do? In fact, this past couple of weeks, you'll see the videos will start coming out. There are a lot of carb rebuild videos on some of these snowblowers. There's some different ones, and then there's the new style carbs that are coming out. These power more engines or whatever the hell they are. The China Cat engines. But how many of these can you do? And I'm not the best how-to guy either, because there's people out there that are way better than me at the how-to thing. Although there's money in how-to, fellas. I mean, if you do how-to, because YouTube is what YouTube really is a search engine. I mean, it's based on a search engine. It has grown, but it is, the end of the day, is a search engine, Brett says, tractor. Hold on, let me catch up. Reman Shop, they build engines. Bravo says, I have one of their engines in my 98 S10. Runs perfectly. Exactly. Right? Tractor. Robert says, build a classic electric powered. No, I don't want to do that. There's guys that do that. I love the smell and stink of carbon and fuel. I'll probably be fixing electric lawnmowers soon, right? I could wait for that, right? Yeah, maybe down the road, but if I were to do, I don't think I would do a classic that way, because the classic stuff is just so expensive to get your hands on. Then to put an electric in it, if you want to do an electric, you do something like an S10 with an electric engine in it. Something that you can get your hands on cheap and then spend your money on the electric gear, right? Because otherwise the budgets are ridiculous. And there's just no way that's ever going to happen again. I don't make that kind of money unless like my YouTube channel blew up, which it could happen, but I'm not counting on that, right? It's not a terrible idea, Robert. There's two Roberts in here, right? There's Robert W. and Robert M. Shopcat. What's up, Shopcat? I agree, Uncle Arch. That's why I went with Industries, because I mess with record players and radios and stuff. Yeah. Well, Robert W. and I are into audio. That's why a lot of times, and cameras. That's why a lot of times I talk about camera stuff here. Actually, I was just fooling around today with cabling. I picked up some cables, and they don't all work because right? This is an 8K HDMI cable, and it won't work with my cheaper camera. This guy, right? It won't work with this camera. Right? Where am I holding it? Yeah, over here. Can't really see it. This is this camera here. This is the cheaper camera over here. This guy. And I love this camera, but it's this a standard DVI HDMI cable, except this is for 8K, and it flows at like, 48 megabits, ridiculous speed. But I have two. They were on sale. They're normally like, almost $20. I got them for $12. I needed one cable, and I was going to buy the 4K variant. And there was a 2-pack, so I was like, all right, I'll just get these and we'll try them out. I really only need one. So this camera here is on one of these cables because this is a 4K camera. It's a different kind of camera. It's the Sony a6400, but this is the a6000, this guy here, and I modified it. It thinks I reflashed the firmware in it, the BIOS in it. It thinks it's a 6100. Point being is, like, this is your standard HDMI cable. And as you move forward in technology, some of the new stuff doesn't work with the old stuff, and some of the old stuff doesn't work with the new stuff. And, it is what it is. As you start to get into different technologies, and even if you go backwards, right, and you want to play with it, right, you find these problems and these issues crop up. Sometimes things just won't recognize it. When I was fooling around with some extra monitors and stuff, I'm like, this box here, this flashing thing over here, right? There are some monitors that are out of range for it. It's just they're older, and even though there's an HDMI plug on the back of it, it doesn't mean it's going to work. So you kind of have to poke around, and that's why I wanted some extra cables. Plus, cables go bad. Things go bad. Things happen. I'm like, well, I want to keep a few extra things around because if I'm in the middle of doing something, sometimes I step on the cables. I can't help it. I run them across the floor. I put a mat over it. But, you're in a shop. So, yeah, I totally hear you. It's nice to fool around with different things. Robert Malice says, I knew a guy who had a 60s Falcon sky blue, more like a light blue. He tried to run lawnmower spark plugs in the engine. Robert Malice says, I bleed gas and oil. Cat says, Cat Industries, right? Just get a classic electric lawnmower. I had an electric Sunbeam mower from the 1960s, and it was a beast. I remember those. They were beasts. They were pretty cool. Right, with the cord. Johnny Bravo says, I'm actually considering dropping that small block Chevy 400 built my S10 just for fun. There's no room, bro. There's like no room in there. That is one small. So I was fooling around with my van too a little bit, Pat. And I think I might fool around a little bit more tomorrow. I'm kind of cleaning it up and fixing it. I got it running again. And by the way, you know what was wrong with my van? The one that I towed in the backyard with the tractor. Tractor! Right? My nice Simplicity Sunstar. This thing was wrong with my van. You guys know what this is? This thing is? Okay. Look, this thing. Right? We were talking about that a couple of days back, couple of weeks back. This is what was wrong with it. And there's really nothing wrong with this thing either. It's getting old. Everything's getting old, like me. And the weather got cold. Things contract. Things get dirty. This is the fuel pump relay. And I measured it. It's close to the other one. There's two of these in there. There's one that runs the AC system, and there's one that runs the fuel pump. Well, this thing's been on since day one. And either it wasn't fitting into the fuse box right, the power box, or it looks a little dirty around the edges, maybe a little bit of oxidation, or I don't know. It buzzes out close. I think one was like 43 ohms. The other one this is like a slightly different number. So I took the one from the AC, took this out, put the other one in, turned the van on, it runs fine. I'm like, all right. So I ordered another Omicron. Yeah, I think it's Omicron. Yeah, Omicron or whatever the hell it is. But, you know, made in America. I ordered one. They had like 12 left. I'm like, I ordered one. I'll put the new one in. I'll take the one that's working and put it down, replace the AC, and I'll just leave this one sit around. It seems to work. But things are getting old. And so I've been going over the van, trying to make it nice, because that's a 1996 GMC Safari. And it's got the, you know, the 4.3 Vortec in it. It runs really nice. I've tried to keep it in nice shape. I want to fix it up. You know, used cars today are they're also ridiculously expensive. So it pays, you know, to keep your shit going. Let's see. Let me catch up. Robert Walker says, Robert W., but that would be your budget because the drivetrain could be done for less. Yeah, but it would be nice to stick it in something like, remember, Rob, you remember like the little box S10 I had, the gray one, and then I had the red pickup truck with the extended cab. Either one of those would be cool to put an electric motor in. I could, because I like those vehicles. They're kind of still around and you can get them cheap, and the motors that are in them right now probably a shot. So just pull that right out, fix up the body and stick something electric in and try it. Right? That would be kind of neat. Brett says, you see me, Arch, I do stuff with vintage hand dryers too. Yeah, that's right. Brett's into like vintage, the hand dryers, you know, you hit the button and, you know, people are into all kinds of cool stuff. Now, there's one caveat. If you start off your channel and it's eclectic, that's one thing. But if you start off your channel, let's say, and you're doing lawnmowers, and then you go to food and you go to blow dryers, it'll kill your channel. Them's are the rules, right? That's just what happens. Even when I go do car stuff or something else, I see it. Like I like to show stuff, computer stuff and everything, or I fix the camera screens by putting the glass on or whatever, and I just wanted to show that. Yeah, it takes your channel. No one watches it because it's not the thing that they're interested in, that they watch you for. The people that might be interested have no idea you exist. And YouTube looks at it and goes, you suck. Okay. You got no views. And then they just put the you suck tab sticker on, like your channel. That's essentially because it's AI. Like it doesn't know anything. So if you release a video and you don't really get any views on it, and in this video you have some decent views, it doesn't really care what you're doing. All it does is it takes the sticker from like the you suck, you're in trouble. It shoves it on your channel and on that video, and it goes, you suck right now. You're sucking. And you water down your channel, right? It's just bizarre. If you're really popular and then you do shit like that, that's different. Because some people will watch you just because they want to watch what you're doing. But if you're like a newer channel, you just get, oh, you suck. Here's the sticker. Blondie says, hey, Blondie, if you could get one piece of camera equipment now, what would it be? Ooh, that's a good question. I got to think about that. Bravo says, hey, I have a welder, a lathe, and a mill. I can make anything fit. Yup. And a hammer. Yup. Cat says, starter relay. Yup. Cat says, or fuel pump. Yup. Robert Mel says, shrinkage. Sounds like a sexual thing. Yup. Cat says, industries. Yeah. I did a mini bike project for a buddy expecting it would blow up, but it tanked. But tractors and mowers, yeah, because I'm doing this mini bike project too as well. And it's getting a little bit of traction. Brett says the dryer's got some cool views. Yeah, it can. It's weird, yeah. But the thing is so the caveats of this too. Backwards Boy says, good evening, Arch and everyone. Hey, Backwards. Brett says my Kerrigan review really tanked, so did the Bissell review. Yeah, and that can happen. Backwards says, Merry Christmas to you, brother. Bravo says, holy crap. My most viewed videos, my pressure washer weird problem repair, and treadmill motor conversion for lathes. Yeah, the caveats are this, right? Like I said, if you're really popular, it doesn't matter. You may not get as many views, but it won't necessarily tank. But there are these caveats. The first thing is, if you don't try it, you're not going to know. Mic drop. Literally. Like sometimes you just have to try stuff. And if you're afraid that it's going to water your channel down, so the basic explanation I like to give for watering your channel. So let's say and we're talking about, well, people like me, because I have a relatively small channel, right? So again, if you're a big channel, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much. But if you're starting out, the first general rule of thumb is don't show your face. Don't talk about yourself. Don't talk a lot. Why? Because people are coming to your channel. They're not coming to see you unless you're hot and you did the hanging out and your Heidi's hanging out. They're not coming to you. They don't know who you are. They don't give a crap. You haven't done anything for them. Don't ask them for anything. Don't ask them to sign up for this. Don't ask them to hit the like and subscribe. You haven't done anything for them. You have to do something for them. And you can't blame them. And they don't care what you do or who you are. Like I said, unless you got a really hot pair. That's general rule, right? That's a pre-existing rule. As time goes on, they might be more interested. They might want to see what your family's like. That's different. That's different. So that's one thing. The other thing is that they want to see you doing something. They want to know what you're doing. And they have to determine whether or not you're honest about it and if they're interested in what you're doing. And they'll come back if they like what you're doing and you're showing it well and you're not taking them on some kind of crazy ride with your camera and they can't hear you. By the way, I just did a short. It's actually doing pretty good. But I did it on this crappy iPhone, which I like the iPhone and everything, but this one's old. And you can't hear me, right? And like I know that. Yeah, Mike says, that's Mike. Hey, Mike. That's the other Mike, right? This is Santa Mike. He looks like Santa Claus. He says he's Fat Mike, but I don't think so. But that's the guy with the Sunstar and the Sovereign. The Sovereign. I put that up on this channel on a live, but I made a video. I think I'm going to release it next week. I took all the cool parts from the Sovereign, and I made a video. So that'll be coming out next week. That's the Mike who just texted me. He just refuses to sign up for YouTube. So there are these caveats that you'll run into. And when you're new, you're in this weird place. So let's say you put out 10 videos and you're new. And one of them hits. And the other 9 suck. Well, you got one good video out of 9. YouTube's going to look at that and go, you suck, bro. Because you got 10 videos and only one of them was any good. The other 9 suck. You suck. We're going to put, like, once again, let me put the sticker on you. You're in the suck category. If you put out 10 videos and 1 or 2 suck, YouTube goes, bro, here's the good sticker, right? You're doing good. You got 8 out of 10 videos that are getting some decent views. Okay, you got 1 or 2 videos that suck. Well, here's the solution, sadly. If you did 1 video out of the 10, right, and the 9 suck, or 8 suck, and that 1 video really did well, you take your other 9 videos and you get rid of them, unlist them. Now suddenly, right, your channel has 1 video and it did really good, and YouTube looks at it because it's fucking AI. It's stupid. It goes, wow, this guy's good, right? It takes a little while to assess that. All right, let's shove that video up a little bit, and then if you take another couple of videos and you put them up, and maybe they'll get a little bit more, views because people are looking for you now and YouTube's ranking you a little higher. So every time you put out a video that doesn't do well, it's doing that. It's pulling everything else down. So what do you do about that? Well, I have a whole bunch of videos that are like that. Do I want to get rid of them? Not necessarily, because some of them I just want to keep up there because I like the videos. What am I supposed to do? Even my Nova stuff, they don't do well at all. But do I want to get rid of them? I might. I'll just unlist them. They're not very good. The camera sucks. You saw that one little short that I put up, right? It's horrible. You can't hear me. It's in a little letterbox mode. You know when people will want to see stuff like that if you really do get popular, and they'll be like, What was it like when he first started? And you can show them stuff like that, and they'll laugh at you, and they go, because I watch some of the fellas that are like really big, and they like to show when they were a kid doing this, and as a younger person, and they would say stupid things, and they poke at themselves and whatever. It's a lot of fun. But when you're starting out, that's a big no-no. What are you going to do? You could just leave it up and not care. I mean, you can't care about everything. Let's see. Let me catch up. Isn't that funny, though? It's just weird, though, how some videos will hit. That's why I say try it. Leave it up for a year. By the way, it takes for a small channel, it takes 10 months to a year for some of these videos to pop. Just to get shown properly, if they're showable, if YouTube really wants to show them. I've seen this, and I just saw it again this past season, because this past season, a few videos were started to hit on. They were from the season before. So don't go deleting stuff right away either, right? It's the chance you take. You might have to leave it up for 10 months to a year, and then come back and reevaluate. Let's see. Brett says, my best videos were in the pressure washer series. Yeah, and those are some good videos too. And smooth, right? Like you started getting real smooth. You got the better camera. Don't be discouraged either. Don't be discouraged, because it's a learning thing. You're not born with the knowledge, I mean, I even went to school for some of this, but I don't remember all of it. And even then, what they teach you in school is important and all. I mean, like Rob and I were talking about this, Rob W. Like, if you really want to learn YouTube, the first thing you might want to do is go take a course in photography and actually take it in film photography, because it'll really teach you what the hell that thing is in your hand called a camera. Then you go to digital photography. Then you go to videography. And you could do a lot of this on your own, but, make it a hobby. I mean, it's fun. I think it's kind of neat. And then get into videography, and then get into filmmaking, and also take courses in storytelling. No shit. Seriously. Because all of that, some of the best channels that are out there today, they're not just, I mean, if I dropped a really expensive, like a Red camera in your hand, well, first of all, I wouldn't drop it in your hand, because it's like $200,000. So you better be holding it and don't drop it. If I put that in your hand, you wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. And it's funny, because I was watching this channel. It's this guy and this girl, right? Relatively younger than me, very pretty, broad. Guy's cool guy. They have kind of like a farm shop, and they work on tractors, a bunch of other stuff. And they've been using mostly action cams, and the channel is big, probably because of her. But they do cool stuff, right? So not to take anything away. I don't want to say who it is, but I might show this in another video. Well, recently, about a couple of weeks ago, the channel's getting big now. They decide to buy a real camera. Looked like they bought a Sony A3 something or other, right? Professional Sony with a really nice lens. This is their full frame Sony line camera. It's top of the line, probably a really expensive piece of glass on there too. You're talking $3-4 grand. And she's talking about how, even though they're not photographers and they're not videographers, but things are getting better, and they decided to buy a real camera. And this was to level up, right? And it would level up the footage. Well, let me tell you, right? That video, I haven't gone back, but that video was horrible, right? She did everything possibly you could do wrong with the camera. And just because it's a really good camera, she did everything wrong. It was horrible. It was all over the place. Just because it's like a professional camera doesn't mean you can go like this with it. And then she would zoom in, optically zoom in, which made this worse. And it is not an action camera. And it even though there is like real stabilization, these are chassis stabilized. It's what they call in-body stabilization, IBS, and the lens has a stabilizer on it like my big lens has. You can't do this with it, right? It doesn't behave. And then they were zooming in, and it was almost unwatchable. You have to know how to use it. You have to know how to set it up. You have to know what it can do, what it can't do. It's not going to take the video for you just because you spent $4,000 on it. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I was like, please stop. Put that thing down. Mount it onto a stand. Please don't zoom in like that. She had no idea what was going on. And the weird thing was that they never bothered to check what they were doing with the video. And I thought it was odd because they could have easily said to themselves, holy crap, we don't know what we're doing. Let's stop. We're ruining the video. Did they not realize it was all over the place? It was just an absolute mess. And it was hard to watch. It still got 50,000 views when I went to watch it. It's probably over 100,000 now. So it's amazing what people will tolerate. But if I was to do that now, they wouldn't watch the video, right? Because the content is not that compelling to have to sit through something going all over the place. So the point I'm making is that cheap little $400 or $500 action camera was fine. They were wearing these lapel mics, lapel mics, whatever you call them, and the audio was always fine. The footage was okay. When they would digitally zoom in, it was a bit problematic because digital zooms suck. But it was stable footage. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. I guess they thought that, spending $4,000 in a camera was the solution to their whatever they were missing. Nope. Now, is it possible to use that camera and really take some beautiful shots? Yes, you'll get much better shots than what the action camera will give you. But you're going to need to learn an awful lot, right, before you fool around with it. So, let's see. Bravo says, I just do videos for fun and entertainment for me. It keeps me from hanging out in the bars and chasing loose women's. I know you say that a lot. If they do get viewed, great. But if they don't, I don't freaking care. Yeah, and, because hobby-wise is important. Like, you should still try to enjoy what you're doing. Like, some of my first videos I took of the Nova and stuff because I wanted to, before I got rid of everything, and the Camaro and the VW, I'm like, I need to put this on some video or something. And then eventually I switched to this phone, and I switched to this phone as well. And I didn't show you those vids. But I think they're up there. And then I started doing some more stuff with this phone, which is just like a dual core processor. But honestly, even though this spec-wise, this phone is better than this one, this camera, I like this one better. So I think it takes better shots, honestly. Damn the torpedoes. I mean, spec-wise, that other one is better, but I don't think it does as well. It's got a weird focus issue on it, and it's got it tries to overcompensate. It gets too damn bright. Good mics are important, Bravo says. One of the dimensions folks don't realize is how important the sound is. Yeah, cheap cameras can't deal with cheap mics. Yup. Sound is huge. Absolutely huge. Getting really good sound is key. But when we first start doing YouTube, especially when a lot of us don't have the training, maybe in cameras and sound design and all the other stuff, right? We rely on all the automatic features. And I think this couple, they probably had no idea what really was going on with cameras and everything else. And they relied on the technology too much, the automatic settings, which did fine, for the most part. But once that was gone, they didn't have the actual skill set. And that's because they bought a camera that worked. It seemed to work. They didn't really know. Because if they'd known, they would have, if she had known what that camera was in her hands and like really what to do with it, none of that would have happened. She would have known not to do that with the camera because the camera is incapable of doing all those things. It really should be on a gimbal. And a gimbal for a professional camera is a lot of, it's almost as much as the camera. I mean, you can buy, by the way, you can buy these cheap I showed this not that long ago, for a cheap camera like this, camera phone like this. You want to improve it? $150 gets you a gimbal with a nice stand. And you can mount a little light on top of it. And you got a gimbal. And that takes this, because the biggest problem with this thing is it can't control there's no stability. And if you get a little bit better gimbal, right, you can put this lighter camera on it with the lighter lens. My Sony A6000. Can't put this one on it, but you can put that one on it, right? It might kill the battery a little bit sooner, because the servo motors have to work a little harder. But you'll get pretty stable footage. Now, you have to be careful with the lighting because you'll be running it in automatic, and it's going to be fooling with the settings in ways that you shouldn't once you understand cameras. Like, that's the problem with automatic, is that it does things it cranks the gain up, and then a lot of times what it'll do is it'll either really open up the shutter, which will make things very blurry, because it's a fake shutter, it's a digital shutter, so it'll expose the sensor too long, which will make everything blurry and fuzzy, or it'll speed up the shutter, and that'll make the footage weird as well. So that's the stuff that when you know about cameras and you start running things in manual, you know not to do that. She didn't know anything about that. And the better cameras, like this better camera over here, the cheaper camera, it's automatic, has like a hybrid automatic mode. Its automatic mode in many ways is better than the more expensive camera. I don't ever run this camera in automatic. I don't even like it. The only thing that some of the automatic features that I use obviously are focus features, because there's a lot of different focus features to it. And in fact, more recently I changed it. It used to, when I would do it at night, I would do these lives, it would focus breathe. And it doesn't do that as much anymore because I changed the setting on it. Well, this one doesn't have those kinds of settings. It doesn't really have the ability to do all of that. It's a little too dark too. I gotta crank it up, but I don't feel like getting up to do it. But I usually leave it on just in case, and I like to play around with stuff. So there's all these different things that you need to know, and not every piece of equipment is going to allow you to do what you're doing, especially if you're working outside and you buy an action camera, you might be very happy with it. And then you decide to go and do your shot. And you're like, wow, well, it doesn't work so good now. Why does everything look like crap? I thought I had all the lights on, because it's made to be in the sun. Brett says, it's not just the equipment quality, it's how you use it. It's just my iPhone and it works. Yeah, yep. The generator video is an example, yeah. Well, really, I think more, the generator is one example on one end, but on the other end is when you were outside doing the pressure washer video. That's the example on the other end. And the generator is an older iPhone. And you could tell it's inside, and then the door is open, so you're having some glare come in. And as long as he stood in the right spot, because the other thing that these things have is the way they use that dynamic gain. They don't have the difference between the darkest part of the image and the brightest part of the image. They don't have the ability to deal with that very well. They don't have there's no glass. The sensors aren't all that great. They're not actually cameras, right? They put some interesting high technology in it, but there's a big difference between like a real camera that has that ability to deal with the brightest and the darkest part. Those kinds of ratings you only really see in better cameras. And then, of course, in the much better cameras, they usually have like two ISO ranges. They have the standard ISO range, so that's basically gain, and you can gain up. Like this thing here, it has one ISO range, so it's a little bit darker. And it's cranked up to like 4,000 on the gain, on the ISO. This one's only 2,500. So, it's different. And there's huge differences in technology. So this one can't really handle the dark. This one has no problem with it. Like, it's dark in here, right? And I like it dark because I don't like a lot of light. It's the end of the day. Oh, Bleach is here. He says, sorry I'm late. Merry Christmas, Arch, and everyone. What's up, Bleach? What do you know? Blood Nose. Hello, Arch. Merry Christmas. Did I miss the Nova Talk? Yes, you missed the Nova Talk, but you can check it out. Hold on. You can check it out on the return. Hold on, fellas. I got to go take a pee break. Let's everybody get some chaw. Hold on. Let me, the pee break coming up. Am I? Am I? I'll be right back. I'm coming. Hold on. We'll get this sooner or later. Man. Yeah, I'm trying. Here goes the chair. Trying to figure out how to get back in. Let me see if I can get back in. Is she still peeing? Oh. Oh. Oh, it feels so good to get that out. Oh. Hold on, pee lady. Sorry, let her finish. She's really got to go. I'm back. Let me catch up. Let's see. Yeah, see, Bleach. Bleach is here. What are you doing, Bleach? Eat some of this. I went back in the house to get some cookies and a little more coffee. I get the Keurig coffee, and it doesn't make a lot of coffee, so... These are the Keurig things. Right? But I also have the one where you put your own coffee in. So I was like, all right, well, we're almost out of the other Keurigs. I'll leave one so I don't get accused of taking the last one. I'll get rid of these cables. Go away! So those cables, one of them worked good for the better camera, but the other one I had to go back to some older cables. It's getting a little chilly in here. Let's see if we can get them too. Right. Oh. That was the shop at work. Yeah, Brett. I could tell. Blood Nose. Hello, Arch. Merry Christmas. Did I miss an overtalk? Yes, you did. Yes, you can always go back at the end. The pre-recorded. That's where I watched a lot of the Ken's live show. I caught... Because when I came in, I was doing all this stuff and whatever, I caught like the last hour. And then back while I was doing other stuff with the pre-recorded to watch the first 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. It's like a 4-hour show he did today. But I did manage to catch all of it. By the way, Brett's been hanging out. Brett. Full frontal on the Brett zone over there. Brett's like out now. Like Brett's on. This is the second time Brett's been up on Ken's. Brett, if Brett had any, because he used to ask Brett, how come you don't do this? How come you're not in the camera more? He goes, oh, I don't. Well, now that fear's gone, right? That's too funny, right? Because like I told him, I said, nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. I mean, look at me. My teeth are all screwed up. All my life, I didn't have any issues. Now I got issues, right? Now I decide to do a YouTube channel, right? After the diabetes and everything else. I'm like, whatever. What am I supposed to do? I'm not going to stop living because I'm dying. Like, good Lord helped me out and did what he could over there, and I got to do the rest. What are you going to do? We get older, you lose your hair, you get overweight, you get, like me, I get too skinny, right? All this weird stuff happens to us. Sometimes you're born with an issue. What are you supposed to do? You're a human being. Nobody cares. That's what I always say. Yeah, Mike says, everything is a hammer. Yeah. It's too funny. Oh my God. Robert Morales, Muffler Refurb Series, Part 11. That's crazy. Let me catch up. Let's see. That's me in the first few hours of work because I have to take Lasix because I had CHF. What's CHF again? I forget. Yeah, I held it too long. Like as a diabetic, you'll pee more. Plus, I drink coffee, whatever. But I held it too long. If I hold it too long, plus I'm getting older, right? It doesn't want to come out. It's weird. Yeah, I generally don't hold it. Once you break seal, right? Then you got to keep going. But, yeah, it depends. Sometimes it's not a problem at all. That's the other thing, you wind up with prostate issues and, yeah, it sounds like my Keurig when I make it. I know, right? It does sound like that. That lady tinkling. That person peeing has a cat. I can tell by how the toilet paper roll is mounted. Sweet. I had a gold 1970. I remember those. No, it's 1970 Nova, Connecticut. Yeah, Russ took it down in the 80s. Yeah, my neighbor had one, Erin. Erin. She had one with the vinyl top, and it had the vinyl peel back sunroof, right? It had like a cover, and you peeled it, like it snaps and everything. That's what she had. I think it might have even been like a notchback, no, fastback, something. It was like, I think it was one of the ones that you could put the tent on, the whole back opened up. Remember them? Brett says, what is she? An effing camel? One of those says, yeah, she stands to pee. Yeah, that's the other reason why when I saw that, I'm like, this is perfect because she stands to pee. Well, that's the world we live in, fellas. Guys sit. You know what the Germans call that? A Sitzenpisse. When a guy sits to pee. I sometimes sit to pee because I get tired because I'm on my feet all day. I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking tired. But you can't, as a guy though, you can't get it all out. Right? We're not made to do that. You have to stand up. Usually what I do is, because it's nice out, right? And the sun's in the backyard at the end of the day, and there's nobody back there, right? I just go out back and I just go, right? You know why guys pee outside? Because they can. Remember, when you're a guy, the world is your toilet. Dude looks like a lady. Yep, Brad says, remember, Arch? I explained why my right eye is white. Yeah. Thanks, Arch. Brett says, you made me spit cookies all over my iPad. That's too funny. You know, I'll tell you, I know a couple of guys. Well, the one dude that I watch from time to time, in fact, I just checked him out recently. He's the one-armed mechanic. You guys know him? He's got one arm. Right? I went back to his channel because I'm running out of the phosphoric acid that I like. And I remember he did a video on the Amazon phosphoric acid. It's like the generic Amazon derusting, because there's a difference between the phosphoric acid stuff that I use, the stuff that he was talking about, and then, of course, the non-acid, that rust remover. What do they call that everybody likes to use? That's not acid. That's a kind of a surfactant type weird, does it an ionic react? I don't know. I don't really understand how it works. Anyway, I remember he did a video and I went back to check him out. And he did a couple of different types. And the stuff that he recommended was in Amazon. It's like a green bottle, kind of like green tinted phosphoric acid. It seems to work very well. So I'm going to pick some of that up. I think it's about $40 for... Is it a half gallon or a gallon? I don't remember. It wasn't ridiculously expensive. So that's the one on Bennett. And then I watch this other guy. He's blind, but he wears dark glasses. There's another guy who's also like that dude in Congress or Senate. He's got a patch over his eye. Another dude I watch puts a patch on. That's not a bad thing to do. You could just put a patch on the one eye. I don't know if that'll screw you up or not. My brother's got some of the issues like that. Not as bad as you, but he's basically like legally blind. And a lot of times he does what you have to do. He'll lift his glasses up and he'll have to put something really close to his one, better eye to read things. You gotta do what you gotta do. But if you're a little concerned, like you could just put a patch on, or don't put like necessarily dark glasses on. You could put like a tinted glasses or something on. Might look really cool. Just a suggestion. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, check out the one-arm mechanic. He's very good. I don't know what happened to him. Doesn't matter. I mean, he's good at what he does. Crud cutter. Yeah, is it? No, not the crud cutter. That other stuff. It derusts everything, and people like to they buy it in these big vats a lot of times, and they just dump everything in there, and it just removes the rust. But it's not an acid. It's not a base. It's not. It uses some other kind of chemical reaction. Brad Johnson Sam Engines. I subbed to him. Nice. Yeah, small engines. Silver-coated silver-coated sunglasses. That's what. Evaporust. Yes, thank you, fellas. See, because I kind of know what I'm thinking, but I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Yeah, Vaporus is a different... I want some of that stuff too. Hopefully if I have a good year this year or a better year, those are some of the things I want to get for the shop. Yeah, the silver glasses work good too. Yeah, just get something like that. You'll look really cool. Because if you're concerned about making somebody uncomfortable, I mean, I understand. I could be it. Not that I care, but, you could try it. Some people do because it looks cool. I guess, if you're worried about the ladies, Just a thought. So where was I? What was I doing? Oh, I took a leak. James Connon uses that in his videos. Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. And what's nice about it is it's not an acid, so you never have to be concerned about the base metal getting eaten up, right? But the phosphoric acid that I'm talking about is not really aggressive. It's probably about as much of what people drink in their Coca-Cola and stuff, because that's what you're drinking is phosphoric acid. That's not a good thing to do. I mean, not that smoking is a good thing, but drinking acid is not a good idea. Robert says, yeah. Brett says, but you know me, Arch, you know my situation. Yep. Robert says, I love the bathroom break video. That is a 1960s or earlier to mid-70s bathroom with the horizontal 3-foot double pin fluorescent light fixture on the back. You guys freak me out, right? Like, I just love the stuff that you notice and you come up with. Like, I get such a kick out of it. Johnny Brower says, one of the chapters in my Snapper REM series uses it and shows the results. That stuff works great, but you have to leave it. Yes, you got to leave it. You got to leave stuff. Yeah. And that's what I like about it too, is there's a lot of things that I like to do that are like I put in automatic mode. Not everything has to be done right away. I've got so many irons in the fire, projects going on. And that's another reason why I want to clean off an area in the other room. That table that I made, that lift table, I'm underutilizing it. I could easily set up to where I can have a lawnmower, a mini bike, something else, right? Whatever kind of different projects. And I can have them in different states and do my thing. I want to vapor rust that. I'll go do something else. Blood Nose says, yeah, vapor rust turns metal dark. It can. Some metals, yeah. But I'd rather have it a little bit dark than full of rust and crap. And I can have a bunch of things going on. I could just kind of walk around with the cameras, get my updates, or on my projects, load them all into the computer, sort it out later, and whatever's popping. Like I got a Toro, an older Toro I want to rebuild and paint. Everything for 2 Toros is basically on a cart in the garage. And I think I've showed a little bit. I decided to narrow it down to making 1 Toro. It's the older body style. And I'm going to make it personal pace because people like those. Me, I don't care, but people like the personal pace. I got a couple of videos that do well. And we'll go through it. But I want to repaint the body. And to do that, the body is in decent shape, but the paint is shot. So I really want to get the rust off of it. And I'm running out of the phosphoric acid. I don't want to dip it. The phosphoric acid goes on a little bit of Scotch-Brite. And the other stuff that I use, which has got a phosphoric acid and a buffer in it, it's a metal prep. You put that outside on the my mother's old table, and you just leave it for a little while. Put a little bit more on, hit a little bit, and hose it off. It's gone. Then grab it, clean it up nice, lock down a coat of like high build primer on it, and leave it. Come back week later, whatever, sand it, touch it up a little bit, get it nice, drop a little primer on it, drop some Rust-Oleum paint on it, leave it a couple of days. Come back when I feel like it. I'm like, all right, let's put some parts on, get the camera out, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I want to build that. But I want to use the other work table that I made for it and do most of it in the garage. So the lights are shot in the garage. So Mikey hooked me up. I bought some lights. I showed that last year. I want to put in the next couple of weeks another set of LED lights to replace the fluorescent ones. There's a dark area in the shop here, right? I want to do that. And when that's done, I can go back into the garage. I'll have some extra bulbs I can chase out because I got to rebulb the whole garage. I can chase out the bulbs that have burned out in the garage. Now it'll be brighter. Now I can start thinking about recording in there because I got the motorcycle to do, and I'm like the lights are dead in there. I'm like, I got to fix this. You know, you need some general lighting. You know, you don't want to be sitting in the dark like I am right now with one light, camera light, over what you're working on. And meanwhile, everything else is pitch black. So all of these different projects, I could be doing a little bit here and there, a little bit outside, a little bit of this. And then I'm not in any rush to do any one thing. And then there's the daily work. You know, like I just finished a couple of jobs, like TJ's snow blower. I fixed the town guy's snow blower. I'm waiting for all the stuff to disappear. Everybody pick everything up. So in between doing that is all the other little projects, the fun stuff that goes on YouTube, the eclectic stuff. That's what I like about eclectic. You know, not every one of these videos is going to hit. They don't. You know, I just like doing them. It's so funny that Robert saw that. It's so funny. Okay. Just the blood knows the evaporos. Yeah, Brett says, just like commenting how I could tell how many blades were on that Simplicity blower. I know, that was so bizarre. Like, Brett's like, I let out that blower video on the Simplicity blower, and Brett's like, it's got 4 blades, I can hear it. Is that because does that happen, you think, because you do have issues with your eyes, and are you more acute with your hearing? Because I understand that's a thing that can happen. Humans do that. They just become more aware. But also some of us have more acute hearing, just in general. Like I don't have perfect pitch. I have really, really good relative pitch. You can screw up. Why I say I don't have perfect pitch is because you can screw me up. It can happen. I've seen it happen, and then it doesn't matter what happens after that. If things get too loud, or some guitar shows up with these effects boxes and starts going, woo, you know, all these crazy noises, and just and like really loud, and then like I'll hear that, and I'm like, the fella back in the day, the fellas would be like, all right, let's play the song now, and I'm like, I can't hear anything. Like I can't even hear it in my head, because to have perfect pitch, you actually have to hear it in your head. And I hear a lot of notes in my head on any given day, and usually I'm really very close to being spot on. But I can sometimes get lost. So, let's see. Robin says, I drink coffee 24/7, 7 days a week. That's me. Yes, plus I have perfect pitch. I know what the blade count is by relative. That's funny, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah, I think I have really good relative pitch. That's how I can play, mostly by the ear. But it's nice sometimes to have a reference point, you know, for me at least. But I think you have it. I can tell. You definitely have something that I think I'm missing. Although tonality-wise, like, some of it goes to taste, too. Like, when you're playing music, it just goes to taste. Like, you could have great perfect pitch, but you suck because you have lousy taste. No, that's a thing, you know. Johnny Bravo says, back when I could hear, I had perfect pitch. When I was in a band, the director used to set me a tone for everybody else to tune to. Yeah. Set a tone, yep. Yeah, I hear stuff right now. I can hear 440 because I memorized the dial tone because it's 440 hertz. I don't like tuning to that. Yeah, Robert goes, Uncle Archie's water broke. That is too funny, bros. You guys absolutely crack me up. That's why I like doing this, right? Because I know some people don't like doing the lives because there's no money in it, right? There is for a few channels, very few. There's certain channels that they can do lives and make money doing it. Usually when you're bigger, if you don't want to do a live. But a lot of people don't like doing them, but I don't do it for the money. I do it because it's fun. I like hanging out with you fellas, and it's a different expression. It's a different way to express yourself. the videos that we do, the people that, you guys are the YouTubers or whatever, they're contrived. Although I do add certain, things into the live show, like I come up with some idea or something I want to say, and I kind of put it together roughly. That part's contrived, but most of it is just riffing. And I'm not necessarily limited to any one thing. I mean, you can never make... The thing is that I say is, when you put up, it's eclectic stuff on YouTube, it may not work on your channel, but at the end of the day, you're never going to make everybody happy. That's not going to happen. And sooner or later, you're going to do or say something or show something that other people aren't going to like. Okay. I mean, that's just going to happen. That's the end of it. Let's see. Brett says 440 hertz is the fifth octave of A. Yeah. Yep. Johnny Bros says, I find I like it too. I look forward to Saturday nights to hang out with you guys. Yeah, and have a beer and hang out and have a chaw like Brett. And just hang out. That's like Ken's show during the day, except that I'm usually really busy. And last week was a nightmare because it was so fun. It was today's show was good, but last week was horrible because I'm trying to work and get stuff done. And I'm like, oh God, what are they talking about now? What's going on now? And then I kept having to stop and sit. I'm like, maybe I'll have a cigarette break. All right, maybe I'll have a quick snack break. All right, maybe I'll have. And at the end of the day, I was behind on everything. I'm like, geez, I got to get everything in. It's getting dark. It's going to rain tomorrow. I got to stop. I can't listen to the show anymore. Sometimes I'll put Ken's show on a Saturday and I'll shut it off. And I'll just go to myself, it sucks. Shut it off. It sucks. I'll have to lie to myself because if I don't say that, right, what'll happen is I'll start listening to it and I won't get my stuff done. Like last Saturday. Because I'll start listening or I'll go on it, which I occasionally do. Sometimes he'll do a Sunday thing and I'll go on. Right? Because I've got everything done and it's just different. It's like Saturday is like a day. I generally try to leave a day on the weekend because as you fellas know, right, small equipment, small engines, customers. Now, Ken gets up early. So Ken gets a lot of stuff done early. And this is Ken's thing, right? And Ken knows, today, he wanted that guy from Australia to be on, right? And it's 3 o'clock in the morning by the time he left. The other fellow that was hanging out, it was 6:30. These guys from Australia. The other fellows are from Canada, UK, right? Finland or wherever Klaus is. I forget where he's from. And so Ken gets up really early, generally anyway. And then he tries to get everything he can get done because he's got customers and stuff, whatever. And then this is his thing, it's Saturday show, and it's got to be a little bit earlier because he's trying to. It's hard to do. But that's my prime time, and I don't get up as early as Ken does, especially not on a Saturday, right? That's my thing. Let's see, Blood Nose. I want to figure out how to mute the ads at the gas pump. What do you mean? I want to figure out how to mute the ads at the gas pump. What does that mean? I'm the snuff chewer, but I'm going to try to quit. Yeah. I don't have a big enough followers to warrant doing my own live stream. I know, it's really hard. A couple of friends of mine tried to get me into it, and I did a premiere, and the only person at the premiere was Mick from Mick's Mowers, because he's very good. He's very supportive. He tries to be. He's been busy. Modern Pump Show. Yeah, that's right. They do. And they have TV things with people saying stuff on. I'm like, oh, that's annoying. And it comes through the loudspeaker. I'm like, I try to block that out. It's horrible. Wait, hold on. We have an error. Let's see, error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience open widget. It has this new widget. Error. YouTube is not receiving. Stream status is poor, fellas. You might lose me. There's a lot going on with the internet right now. Yeah. Stream health. Let's see. Stream settings. It's all fine. I haven't changed anything. But, yeah, they're having an issue. Right? It's also like the holiday. Let's see. Bleach says, damn girls be playing battle shits on TikTok and getting famous with perfect pitch. I'm just a YouTuber, clever organizer in a garage being attacked by barking spiders from that chili ate. It's too funny. Yeah. Dude, it's hard. you know? It takes either a very long time or it takes a very deliberate attempt. And I remember I just kind of did that thing and he popped on and I was like, well, that's really cool that he did that. He just stayed for a little bit. And one of my other friends is like, well, why don't you just turn the camera on and leave it? You know, because some people like to watch stuff because it's like company. Instead of listening to music, because not everybody just wants to listen to music all the time, they might just watch something like that. I'm like, well, that's not a bad idea, but I really don't even have the equipment for that, bro. And somebody else, and then TJ came along, right? TJ, my friend TJ, that you guys, he might still be here. He was the other person that said, he kind of prompted me to do it, and then he wanted me to do his snowblower because he had the issues with the snowblower and the throwing of the belts. And then one thing led to another. He's the fellow that also set me up with this, right? So you get inspiration from people sometimes, and it might feel like it's not going to work, but you just don't know. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be doing a live show and like talk to myself because that's weird. And then at some point you just go, you know what? So what? Right? Half the time you're talking to yourself anyway. You're walking around, you know? Oh, Bloodnose says you inspire me much. Thanks, bro. That's an awesome thing. I love to hear that kind of stuff. There's another fellow that said something on a video I did recently. He goes, I've never really been mechanically inclined and probably never had the time. He's like, I'm trying to get into it now. Thanks for the info. Yeah. Shit, yeah. A lot of us, especially as we get older, and, you know, typical scenario, a lot of my channel is just, I would really like to just inspire a lot of stuff, just to kind of get up and go do. Because a lot of us, right, not all, but I'll just, you know, run a scenario down. You're getting older, you raise your kids, you got married, you got divorced, whatever, right? Life has been going on. Maybe you're not as strong and healthy as you were. I get it, bro. And you decide, you know what? I got a little bit more time in my hands. I've always wanted to learn how to do this, that, or the third. And I don't know anything about it. I'm really good at the other things that I did. I just never did this. Let me see if I can. They turn on YouTube and they get some idiot like me, right? And, you know, yelling and screaming about something. Try it. What's the worst that's going to happen? It's going to blow up, right? Just make sure you do it outside like I do so it doesn't take your shop down or your house down. What's the worst that's going to happen? Your lawnmower's already broken. Try to fix it. See what happens. Sometimes it's all we need. Just to see some of the idiot like me trying to do it and see if he can get, do it. And being honest about it, right? And trying to see if he can do it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You know how many things I've screwed up? How much shit I've ruined? I don't get like when I first started working on cars, right? Going back to the Mustang days. I had to replace the wheel bearings. And I put the tapered bearing in upside down. Yeah. I pounded them in. And now there's no lip. And I don't have a lot of tools. And I don't have any experience. And I remember this sinky feeling after when I went full retard. And everybody knows you never go full retard. And I hate saying that word, but it's funny. And I'm like, I got to get him out. I'm like, how the hell are you going to get him out? You can't go anywhere. You can't put the wheel back on. And I got him out. And it was a total dumb new maneuver. And I was determined. Bang, 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 bang. And I looked down and I went, oh, the bearing's in backwards. Tapered bearing. Oh, should have checked that. Why did I bang so hard? Oh, my God. I mean, there's so many things. Bloodnose, I found you because, let's see, let me back up. Thanks, Bloodnose. Brett says there's a dude on YouTube who can burp extremely loud, and he goes into public places and does that to see what reaction he gets. It's so stupid that it's funny. I bet you he gets good views. Bloodnose says, I found you because I searched for something you published, and I liked your delivery, so I subscribed a while ago. Very cool. Thanks, man. Robert says, I heard of people who use Coke as a rust remover. I looked up the ultrasonic cleaner and found 30-liter unit on Amazon. Oh, those are nice. I want to get one of those. Those are nice. Yeah, it's the phosphoric acid in the Coca-Cola. Yep, and people are drinking it. I stopped drinking that. I'm like, it's not good for you to drink that. Not at all. It gives it that tangy taste, right? Along with the effervescence. I mean, once in a while, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, you know, lemons and stuff. This is lemon juice. It's citric acid. It's not phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid that's not normal, right? It really isn't in anything. Citric acid is different. You should see. Brett says, you and I should team up and do a live show sometime, Arch. See what it does. Absolutely. Look for Yanagi 19867 on YouTube and check him out. Definitely will. Well, I had mentioned this last time, last time I think it was, and even Ken said he'd do it. I want to do like a more of like an interview, like a co-star, like a co-chair, right? Rather than have, and I think Ken even mentioned today, like I don't want to do the Hollywood squares, right? That's too much for me, and I wouldn't be good at it. I'd rather do more of like a sort of an interview co-chair type scenario. And do like one at a time. And it doesn't even have to be for the whole show. It could be like, 3 hours, right? We're almost at 3 hours now, so I'm going to leave in a little bit. But it could just do it for like an hour or something. It doesn't, wherever I fit it into a show. And I think that would be fun. And just do different people and some returns. It's like special guest tonight. Special guest, Brett. Right? Brett's coming in. Everybody stand by. Brett's coming up. Right? I just have some fun with it and be a goof. And also, it's a little bit more one-on-one. And then I won't lose track of the chat stuff going on either. Right? Because that happens. You put a lot of people up. You're going to lose track of what's going on in the chat. It's a lot to manage. So I won't lose track. And I can also put some of those responsibilities off on the other person. Make them read it. Right? Which is good. I think that's fair. Let's see, look for Yanagi. Yeah, I think I've heard of that guy. Oops, Yanagi 19871. I would check it out now, but it's getting too late. I don't want to get... That's so weird. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience something. Yeah, we've had a lot of problems. The net is... Well, one, it's the holidays. But there's been a lot of attacks lately. A number of sites have been down and attacked. But, Klaus Schwab said that was going to happen. Every now and then I like to do stuff about the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. That guy, Klaus Schwab, right? He looks like right out of Central Casting. I think I've showed him a couple of times. You should give him that little skinless, that little furless cat. Right? Remember the dude? Some good stuff. Yeah, Klaus Schwab. Let me send you a picture of him. Hold on. In case you guys don't remember. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. This guy's great. This guy here. Right? He's all over the place. Here he is. Yeah, he is got to be the most hated person just about on the planet at this point now. So many people know what he's up to. It's so bizarre. It's just absolutely bizarre. But I don't want to get too into him tonight, right? Because he'll take me off track and I'll forget what's going on. Yeah, right. Let's see. Robert says, those of us legally blind have a great sense of hearing and a great sense of smell. Yeah, well, look at my nose. You think I don't have a good sense of smell, bros? Right? I remember I used to work for the Greeks when I was really young. And first of all, they had a couple of names for me, right? Well, one name, of course, is when you do something wrong and they think you're stupid. They call you Malaka. And that's the masculine. So Malakia is the feminine. So if they really didn't like what you did, they'd call you Malakia. The other thing is, there's one fellow, he says, he used to call me Johannes. Johannes Mitterolis. I want to see if I can get this right, because I don't have enough teeth in my mouth anyway to roll my tongue properly. Johannes Mitterolis, which means John with the big nose. And then they'd be like, yo, Mito. For short, they'd call me Mito. Mito. And I'd turn and they'd duck, right? Because my nose could hit them, right? So they loved fooling around with that stuff. Oh, look at this. Olmec eyes. If you eat meat all the time, you'll look 15 at 101. All right. Let's see. Oops, Yanagi. Yeah, we'll fart. Olmec eyes. If you eat meat all the time, you'll look at the 15. Your elders are slow in America. Soros is just as hated. Yes, that's true. Like the Viking name Malaki. Yeah. That's hilarious. Malakia. Yep. Welcome to the channel. Just cool stuff like that. Like, I liked working with them. They were a lot of fun. They taught me a lot. They also taught me a lot about machining and stuff. But let's see. What's a kunfala? A kunfala, right? You ever see a tree? I'm like, what the hell is a kunfala? Because they'd say to you, kega misu. Means basically go fuck yourself, right? And kega misu kunfala, right? The kunfala, you ever see a tree with sort of like, it goes like this and it looks like a vagina or like a hole in it, right? So trees get these weird deformities. So that basically is a kunfala. And they'd say, malaka, kega misu kunfala, which means go fuck that hole in the tree. I would be like, that's just awesome. I can't believe I remember that, right? They were really cool. Kega misu kunfala. Malaka, what are you doing? Tommy used to cough a lot. Like that. I don't know if it was go there and get, oh, you're great. Lie to me, Johnny Lang. Yeah, that's a good one. Kega misu. Great bunch of guys. They taught me a lot. Learned a lot from them. The machinist was always trying to poke a broomstick in my butt. This is what they do. If you're young, they'll torment you to see how much you can take. And if you can, if you can deal with the stresses of that, right, they like you after a while, Let's see, Lighting Johnny Lang. Yeah, Bleach says, sorry about my comment. I smoked pine weed from a candy cane tonight on my live. Nice. Oh my guys, Fenrin means asshole in Norse. Really? Fenrin. Wow. Yeah, that's some good stuff. I like the different languages and the different things that come out of it. It's difficult sometimes to convert the real meanings to English. And I'll give you an example. That's why the Bible has something like 8,000 errors in it, like the King James. Because they're not really errors per se. It's like here, where I am on Long Island, New York. If I want to go out and get like a meatball sandwich, right? Meatball, Parmesan, right? It's called a hero. You go right over to Pennsylvania, right? What do they call that? A hoagie or something? No, there's like different names. There's hoagie, hero, grinder, right? Like depending upon where you go, like Australia, right? If you sit down and you ask the waitress for an extra napkin, she's going to give you, a tissue, like a napkin tissue, right? If you say that in Australia, they're going to look at you weird because a napkin is a diaper. It's a baby diaper. So if you sit down to eat and you're an American, you go there and you're like, oh, I need an extra one of these napkins here. They're going to be like, huh? What do you need a diaper for? You just got here. We don't have diapers. Euros. Yeah, Euros. Yes, Euros. I went to, from working with these guys, right, the Greeks, we went out one night when we were younger, wilding. We went to the North Shore. We went to a Greek place to get gyros, right? Gyros. And it says Gyros, whatever, right? And they all my friends go in there and they order gyros. They're ordering gyros. And it comes to me and I look at the guy and I go, I'd like to get the lamb gyros with whatever on it. He goes, oh, you Greek! You're Greek! Oh, no, I'm not Greek. No, you're Greek. You know what it is. He gets so excited. Here, have an extra one. You get free. Oh, you're Greek. I was like, no. My friends are like, what's going on, right? It's this big thing, right? It wasn't like, no soup for you, right? Get out. No soup for you. No, it's the opposite of that. And they're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, well, because I hang out with the Greeks and they're teaching me stuff. And like, I respect the guy. He's Greek. Across the way, right? Lucchese's, right? The pizza place, right? I think they got closed down because tax evasion and stuff, you know. But I grew up with a lot of Italians and everything. I go over there one day, and it says on the sign, Lucchese's, but it looks like Lucchese's, right? So everybody that goes in there, stupid New Yorkers, right? They go in there and it's, oh, Lucchese's, can I have a regular pie or whatever? So I go in there one day and I go, I like your name, Lucchese's. He goes, oh, what are you, Italian? Oh, I have free pizza for you. Nobody says that. Everybody gets that wrong. I got free pizza, free pizza. You know, it's nice. You know, she said that Olmex is gyros, G-A-R-O-S. Yeah, gyros. Right? I wish I had more, you know, I had money and I could travel. You know, especially when I was younger, I started to do some stuff like that, and then I got cut short. Because you get to meet people and you get to understand what the hell it is they're saying in the way they're saying it. So things don't always translate properly. You know, they just don't. And I have a New York accent. It's a very heavy accent. It's gotten worse. And a lot of times people don't understand what the hell I'm saying, you know. What does it matter? Robert says, you got that right, Blood Nose. Yeah. See what a Blood Nose. Yeah, let me back up. Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Ooh, yeah. Doesn't Johnny Lang tour with Buddy Guy? Some of those gas stations have TV on yeah, they have TV on the gas pump. I live close to Pittsburgh. Annoying as hell. Can't get away from it. Yup. Jodos. You got that right, Blood Nose. I got free Dominoes. I need redeem. Yeah. Bleach says, I just wanted to tell everyone that the app grinder is not apt to buy angle grinders. Yeah. Yeah. These are good cookies. I like stop back in to grab some cookies and a little bit more coffee. These are really good. I got to watch my sugar, though. There's a little bit of pasta with a meatball in the house. And after I get off, that's what I'm looking to eat. If nobody gets to it, I should have brought it out here and hit it. Oh, I had some earlier and it was really good. Yeah, it helps to know what the hell people are saying and really what they mean when they say it. English is a weird language. There's so many different languages in it. And it's an awesome language, but sometimes we lose meaning. You know, we lose the real meaning. He said, get off. Yeah. Robert says, the Blood Nose, do you have a YouTube channel? I have a channel on YouTube. Yeah. Let's find out what he says. Yeah, next time we'll have to go through some more YouTube stuff. I probably should just grab everybody's channels and just load them up in my descriptions and just keep them at the bottom. And that way I don't have to keep putting them up. And just as I build them, just like have like a running list on my live description. You know, just leave them down. And if somebody new comes in, just add. And that way all the other ones are down there. So if anybody wants to know, they can just go to the description. You know, just make things easier. It's nice. I like to find new channels and stuff and see what's going on out there and the cool stuff that people do. They do it a little bit different. They have a little different presentation. You know, because I go to people and I get inspiration from everybody. You guys give me inspiration. You know, that's how I got started on the live, right? It was people trying to inspire me to do it. Just they're like, look, dude, just try it. Just deal with it. You know, it takes time. A lot of the stuff is just, you know, we have to inspire each other because that's how humans are. It's better than being told something is to find a way to inspire somebody to do something, because then it's their idea, right? That they're drawing partially from you, but it becomes more their idea, and we're more likely to do things that way, you know. Especially when you're starting off something new, because you're going to screw up. So how do you get through the screw up part? You're just going to screw up. I don't think I missed a live stream of yours I've ever watched. Oh, cool, dude. I might have missed a few. Get it? Because I'm like whacked out. But I do enjoy doing them. Although they can take, at the end of the day and working all day and everything, they can take something out of me. The next day I'm kind of like in a zombie land. Just in general. because YouTube does actually take a lot, because it takes a lot to make the videos and then edit them. And the editing is a nightmare. It's fun sometimes, but it's also can be boring. That's why I put all this weird stuff in my videos. It's as much for my own entertainment as it is for others, because sometimes I'll put something in and I think it's funny. I don't know if anybody else is going to think it's funny, but I did that for my entertainment. I also like to put pictures of old lawnmowers in. You'll see that a lot, or cool old stuff. Does it really have anything to do with the video? Some people might think it's a waste of their time to see that. I could see how they would think that, but I don't care, because it's kind of neat and you don't actually see people do that. And that's usually how I program in the commercials. So I want to know that a commercial is going to appear at a certain place and not get in the way of something, and minimize the commercials as well. And I don't want to go back into the video and have to manually place a commercial, because that's annoying. Because how do you know where to put it if you want to put a commercial in? And I do like to get paid, right? Because I could actually use the money and I can put it into the shop and pay some bills or whatever. There's some stuff I want to get for the shop. So I'll usually put a little bit of black in, a few seconds, maybe even fade to the black. And that's what I'll pop in something. Like get a little bit of black, and you'll notice I'll say something like, all right, fellas, when we come back, we're going to test it. And it'll kind of fade out, commercial will go in, and then you might see a picture of an old lawnmower. One of my favorites is that one that lady is holding up that old lawn boy, that old like 1950s lawn boy, and she's just standing there with like this. I think that's awesome. That's a real picture. Robert says, I'll look up on YouTube channel and subscribe to your channel. He's going to look up. Blood knows. Hey, Robert, I'm watching what Arch does. He has a great info on the cameras. Thanks, bro. I like camera stuff. Yeah, okay, they're called bumpers. Yeah, I forgot that. Just a 5-second fill or a transition. Yeah, I forgot that's what that was. Yeah, it's a bumper. Yeah. Wow, I haven't heard that word in a long time. Not since, like, school. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like, I forgot a lot of that stuff that I took. And I got good grades on it all, but I hadn't used it in so long, you know? Like, I knew it was something, but I'm like, I don't know what this thing's called. I just know it is a thing. And they're fun to put in, and they break it up. And I think it's kind of fun in my editing to do that. It's interesting to me. It breaks the tension of the edit, too, a little bit. Because editing is hard. You know, some of the stuff I shoot with the cheaper camera, a lot of stuff I'll shoot just with the cheaper camera. And it doesn't come out as good, but it's really easy. The way I format those and shoot stuff when I just use the simpler camera and make everything so much simpler, it's sometimes is more fun, and it requires way less editing, and it's just a whole mindset difference when I shoot, the way I shoot and do the video. I'm not sure what's happening yet, because it's weird. Some things you do more of an instinct than you do consciously, right? And I'm beginning to learn and like kind of like tie into what the hell is it that I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why are you doing it that way? I don't know. But it seems like it's working. I don't know if it's working or not. It feels like it is. So some of that is like more natural. And I find that if I don't force things, like when I first started doing a lot of this, I tried forcing ideas on stuff. And I'm like, that's just not working. None of this seems to be working right. It just didn't come out the way I thought. Yeah, like I was in conflict. And I learned, like, no, your show isn't going to work this way. Like, and these machines are not going to cooperate you in that way. They're going to tell you what they need and what they're going to be and how they're going to be shot. Like, well, how does that work? I'm the person. Yeah, you have to respond to that. Like, you have to figure that part out. And once I understood what to do with the cameras, I was like, all right, this is how you would light this. This is the angle you might want. This is the focal length you might want. Once that becomes more like playing guitar in second nature, it's like, then you start to realize, like, well, what can you get out of this video? Like, I'm working on a video now, and it sucks because it's very hard to show this video through the edits. It's a lot more work, but it's the only thing I think that will come from the video that will really be, to me, more interesting, and it hasn't really been done 1,000 times. So sometimes that happens. Brett says, like your Little Arches Garage logo between some of your clips. Yeah. Yeah. Robert Brothers says, all right, Pinocchio. Yeah, that I haven't heard. I like the Greek stuff better, I think. Is more fun than the Pinocchio. I haven't heard that since I was a kid. Yeah, the Little Arches Garage logo between some of the clips are fun, right? And I'm starting to make some more of those. And I have a whole bunch that aren't done yet. Like I have folders of stuff that I will eventually get to and turn them into little bumper things. It just depends. I also have some intro and outros of my niece and my daughter that I got to work into some stuff. I kind of took them one day when they were out here fooling around, and I said, just do this, try this, do this, try this, and I record them, and then I'm going to work them into something. So that'll come. I think I have a couple out there already. I know I have at least one or two of my niece. She's actually quite natural at it. My daughter is too, to her own degree, but I think her head's in a different spot, whereas my niece seems to be able to put her head into that place. She's very good at it. I think she should do more. What I noticed my daughter does well is when she cooks, she prepares food a certain way, with certain recipes, and then she lays it out on the table or on the plate and does a presentation, and she takes photos of it. Yes, I'll tell Christina you said hi, Brett. And they come out really good. And I'm like, you could easily make like a presentation book, not so much a recipe book, or maybe you could just do it for a recipe book, because these layouts are beautiful. That's like a talent. And she just does it with her iPhone. And it's automatic. It's like natural for her to do this. So I think she should do something with that. Tractor. Yeah, she does the tractor thing. All right, fellas, it's been over 3 hours. I think we should call it 3 hours and 16 minutes. And I'm getting tired. And I'm thinking about going to eat that. The lawn boy. Mike says the lawn boy lady. Yeah, I like that. Mike's coming up, by the way. That's Mike. That's Santa, right? That's coming up. Check that out. I think I'm going to release that sometime this week. I had a lot of fun working on an old Simplicity Sovereign. Had a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to playing with it soon. And Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy New Year, and Kwanzaa, and everything else. And in case I don't see you before the New Year or whatever goes on, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm going to see if I can get outside tomorrow for a little while if it doesn't rain. And I want to work on the van a little bit and try to tweak that a little bit. So I want to get up at a relatively decent hour. But you guys all have a really good holiday. Don't drink too much. Remember to see Blood Nose. Remember to stand when you pee. Right, fellas, remember, stand when you pee. Stand in the place where you pee. Now face north. I'll see you guys.